Before we begin tonight's story, I'd love for you to take a moment to support the channel. If you enjoy relaxing history like this, please give the video a like and subscribe, so you'll always have a new story ready when you need to unwind. I'd also love to know, where in the world are you listening from tonight? Drop it in the comments below. It's always wonderful to see how far these sleepy journeys travel. The first thing you notice when you open your eyes is not the sight of stone, but the sensation of cold. It wraps around you like an invisible blanket. The kind that doesn't comfort so much as remind you that life here is always on nature's terms. The cave is a steady temperature compared to the outside world, but even so, it is far from warmth. The chill reaches deep into your bones before you are fully awake, coaxing a small shiver from your muscles. You are lying on a bed made of sedge grass and rushes, carefully arranged into a mat that has been flattened by countless nights of use. It is scratchy against your skin, and every time you shift your weight, the stiff stems make a faint rustling sound, like dry paper being crumpled. Over you is a hide, most likely deer or elk's, heavy with the faint lingering smell of animal fat that once kept it supple and water-resistant. It is not soft the way a modern blanket is, but it is enough to keep you alive through a night when the outside frost still lingers just beyond the stone walls. Around you, life stirs in subtle ways. The cave is filled with the quiet music of your people, the deep, steady breathing of adults still asleep, the occasional small murmur of someone shifting on their mat, the delicate snuffling sounds of a baby pressed close to its mother. Somewhere in the darkness behind you, a slow, steady dripping of water echoes faintly, a rhythm that has marked time here for centuries. The cave itself almost seems to breathe. Your nose is full of smells, layers of them, stacked together in a way that is both overwhelming and familiar. There is the smoky sharpness of last night's fire, the lingering tang of roasted meat, and underneath, the damp, mineral scent of stone that never truly dries. There is the musk of bodies, unwashed yet healthy, the faint soreness of leather garments that have been sweated into and slept in, and the earthy greenness of dried grasses used as bedding. Nothing is ever sterile here, nothing is neutral. The air is thick with the smells of living. And then, at the center of it all, there is the fire. The fire is the heart of this world, as vital as blood. Right now, it is little more than a scatter of glowing embers, their orange, red light pulsing faintly in the dimness. Thin curls of smoke rise upward, softening as they vanish into the higher shadows of the cave ceilings. Someone, whoever had the last watch during the night, has kept it alive, feeding it with just enough slivers of wood to keep it from dying. It is a careful balance. You cannot waste firewood, but you also cannot allow the flames to fade entirely. To lose fire would mean hours of dangerous, uncertain work to spark it back to life, and sometimes in the wrong weather. You might not succeed at all. You push yourself upright slowly, your joints stiff with the aches of yesterday's labor. Sleeping on the ground, walking miles through forest and over rocks, carrying heavy loads of wood and food. Your body never knows a day without effort. Your muscles are strong, but strength here is not about sculpted beauty. It is about survival, and survival always comes at a cost. A pop in your hip as you sit up reminds you of that price. Around you, others are stirring, a yawn from one corner of the chamber, long and jaw-cracking. A faint groan from someone stretching. Children curl deeper into their hides, resisting the cold before they must rise. These are the sounds of the morning, repeated every day in endless rhythm. The cave itself carries signs of lives lived here for generations. Near the fire pit, the ground is worn smooth from countless people sitting in circles, eating, talking, repairing tools. There are stains where grease from meals has seeped into the stone, dark patches where dropped embers have scorched the floors. The walls bear faint marks too, scratches and smudges left by hands and smoke, and sometimes further back, drawings. Not decorations exactly, but signs of presence, of memory, of belief. Brun, one of the older hunters, is already awake. He crouches near the fire pits, his thick hands gently shifting the embers, preparing to coax them into flame. Beside him are thin strips of birch bark, curled and pale, ready to catch quickly. A pile of twigs lies nearby, chosen with care. Different woods serve different purposes: oak for steady burnings, birch for fast catching, pine for smoky flare. The knowledge of which wood to use, and when, is the sort of wisdom every child here grows up with. Fire is not a toy. It is not a convenience. It is the line between warmth and freezing, between eating and starving, between life and death. You shuffle closer, the chill of the stone floor biting at your bare, calloused feet. Together, you and Brun arrange the kindling over the glowing coals, shaping it into a careful little structure that will catch easily. Then, leaning low, you blow gently, coaxing the embers to brighten. The red glow deepens, and small flames spark to life, licking at the bark, then at the twigs. The smell of smoke strengthens, carrying with it a sense of relief. Fire lives again. The glow spreads outwards, warming not just the air but the mood. People begin to gather near it, drawn as if by instinct. The children shuffle forward with sleepy eyes, small hands held toward the growing flames. Someone begins slicing strips of leftover meat from yesterday's diets, placing them on sharpened sticks to warm over the fire. The smell rises quickly, rich and savory, making stomachs growl in unison. You eat sparingly. There is never enough to feast, never enough to feel truly full. Just a few bites of meat, chewy and smoky, and a handful of nuts saved from the previous day's gathering. But in the cold morning, even these small portions taste like luxuries. While you chew, the day begins to take shape. The hunters talk quietly among themselves, planning their route. They will head east today, following tracks spotted near the river. Hunting is never certain, but careful observation increases the chances. The gatherers, too, begin their soft conversations, discussing which grooves of hazelnut trees or berry patches might be ready. Everyone has a role, and everyone contributes. Children watch as tools are inspected. Stone knives are checked for sharpness, wooden digging sticks for strengths, leather carrying bags for wear. A small nick in your knife's edge from yesterday's use catches your eye. Later, you will take time to repair it, striking flakes of stone in careful rhythm until the edge gleams sharper than steel. For now, you simply run a finger along it and nod. Still good enough. The sun has begun to rise outside, light filtering faintly through the cave mouths. A shaft of pale gold touches the smoke above the fire, turning it almost luminous for a moment. The day is calling. The forest beyond is vast, rich, and dangerous. Everything you need waits out there: food, water, materials for tools, firewood. But so does everything that might end your life. You draw your cloak more tightly around your shoulders, feel the weight of your knife at your side, and let out a slow breath. This is the beginning of another day, another chance to survive, another step in a rhythm that has continued for thousands of years. In this world, there are no guarantees, but there is fire, there is families, and there is the knowledge passed down through endless generations. That, for now, is enough. And with that thought, you rise to meet the day. The fire has burned through the long night, not in flames but in quiet embers, like the steady heartbeat of the caves. It was someone's job, always someone's job, to keep it alive while the rest of the band slept. Now, in the growing light of dawn, the embers glow faintly red and orange, surrounded by a halo of soft grey ash. They are fragile, but alive. From these embers, the entire day will unfold. Being a firekeeper is not a glamorous role, but it is one of the most respected. Fire is not taken for granted. It cannot be conjured at the snap of a finger or the flick of a switch. To lose it is to risk everything. Yes, your people know how to make fire, by striking stone against stone or spinning wood against wood until sparks catch. But the process is never certain, never easy, and never quick. To rebuild fire from nothing can take hours, even with practiced skill, and sometimes it fails altogether. And so, through the night, Someone always stays awake, coaxing the embers with patience and care, adding thin twigs, feeding just enough to keep it alive until the sun returns. You can imagine the quiet of that task, sitting by the dim red glows, listening to the cave's breathing, the drip of water, the shuffle of sleepers, the occasional sigh of wind at the entrance. The firekeeper stares into the embers, eyes adjusting to their subtle rhythms. There is comfort in that watch, a sense of being the guardian of warmth and life while others dream. But there is also weight. If the fire dies on your watch, it is not just your failure, it is a risk to the entire group. The fire is not simply a tool. It is a companion, a presence woven into daily existence. It is warmth on freezing nights, light in a world that otherwise belongs to shadows, and safety against predators who hesitate at the glow. It is the cook that makes meat safer and easier to chew, the forge that hardens wooden spear tips, the healer that sterilizes wounds and soothes with heat. Without fire, you are simply another animal in the cold. With fire, you are something different, something more. Even now, as Brun crouches by the pit to coax flames back from the embers, there is a kind of reverence in the way he moves. He does not rush. He lays birch bark carefully, choosing pieces that will catch quickly. Thin twigs are arranged in a structure that allows air to breathe through them. You join him, kneeling on the cold stone floor. Together, you lean low and blow gently. The embers pulse brighter, sparks blink to life, and thin wisps of flame begin to lick at the bars. The smell of smoke strengthens, sharp and woody, filling the chamber. There is a moment of stillness as everyone watches. When the flames take, when they crackle and climb into twigs, you feel relief spread through the group. Children shuffle closer, faces lit by the flickering orange. Adults relax slightly, hands outstretched to feel the growing warmth. The fire is alive again. Every person here has memories of fires. The first time they held a burning stick. The first time they felt its heat after returning soaked and shivering from rains. The first time they heard a story by its light. Fire is at the center of your life, not just physically but socially. It is where the band gathers at night, where food is shared, where songs are sung and stories are told. It is the closest thing you have to a hearth, a living heart that beats not within your chest, but within the community itself. And with fire comes responsibility. Children are taught early to respect it. They learn not to touch carelessly, not to play too close, not to waste the wood that fuels it. Older ones practice carrying burning sticks to start smaller fires away from the main hearth. Carefully, slowly, with many warnings from parents. A careless accident could burn Hyde's tools or even the cave itself. Fire is powerful, but also dangerous, and every member of the group learns its rules. The role of firekeeper rotates, but some are better at it than others. Carla, the tracker, is famous not just for her sharp eyes in the forest, but for her ability to read the life of a fire. She can tell when embers need stirring, when smoke means the wood is damp, when to shift a log for better airflow. Children watch her closely, learning without words. Knowledge is passed like this, by doing, by observing, by repeating, not through lectures or books, but through shared daily tasks. When food is cooked over the flames, the fire becomes something even more sacred. Raw meat is risky, it's filled with parasites and invisible dangers. Cooked meat is safer, easier to digest, and much tastier. Roots and tubers, too, are transformed by fire. Bitter or tough plants soften into something edible. Seeds roasted in the coals become easier to chew. Even the smell of cooking is a comfort, a signal that survival has been secured for another day. And then there are the other uses. Fire hardens spear tips, making them sharper and more durable. It heats stones until they crack, giving flakes for tool making. It boils water when you drop hot rocks into wooden containers filled with liquid. It smokes hides to preserve them, dries strips of meat for travel, and keeps insects at bay. In every direction you look, fire shapes your existence. At nights, when predators circle in the dark, the fire's glow is a shield. Big cats, wolves, and even bears hesitate at its edge. They can smell you, hear you, sense you, but the fire unsettles them. In the wavering light, you are no longer just prey. You are something dangerous, something unpredictable. The fire is both illusion and reality, a force that makes your small band more than it appears. Sometimes, when the fire burns high and strong, stories are told. The flames dance, throwing shadows on the cave walls, making figures leap and flicker. Elders speak of hunts long ago, of spirits that live in animals and rivers, of ancestors who walked before you. The fire seems to listen, its crackling punctuating the rhythm of words. In these moments, fire is not only practical, it is spiritual. It is mystery, magic, and memories, all glowing in the dark. This morning, as you sit by the flames and warm your hands, you feel the comfort of its presence. The world outside is vast, cold, and full of dangers. But here, in this circle of light and warmth, you are safe. Safe enough, at least, to gather your strength before stepping back into the unknowns. The fire keepers of your world are not heroes with spears or trackers with keen eyes. They are guardians of a different kind. Quiet, steady, patient. Their work is not celebrated with shouts or songs, but with something far more precious: survival. And as the flames grow stronger, crackling cheerfully, you understand that today, once again, your people will walk out of the cave not as animals, but as humans. Because you carry with you the light of fire, the warmth of community, and the knowledge that together you can keep that light alive. Hunger is the steady drumbeat of life in your times. It is not the kind of hunger that comes from skipping a meal or forgetting breakfast. It is deeper, constant, a quiet presence in the belly that shapes every decision, every plan, every movement. Each day begins with the same questions. What will we eat today? And the answer is never guaranteed. In this world, food is not stored in cupboards or waiting on shelves. There are no fields of wheat or herds penned behind fences. What you eat comes only from the land and the animals around you, and each bite must be earned through knowledge, effort, and sometimes risk. Survival is a daily negotiation with the environment, and food is the prize. The search for food begins with the gatherers, often women, sometimes older children, sometimes men too. They move out into the forest with woven slings or leather pouches. Their eyes are sharp, trained to recognize the faint differences in leaves, berries, and roots. What looks like a simple plant to a stranger is, to them, a source of nourishment or a deadly mistake. A patch of berries is examined carefully. Are they black, deep and glossy, sweet on the tongue? Or are they pale and bitter, a warning of poison? The knowledge is passed down through generations: which plants soothe an upset stomachs, which seeds can be ground into paste, which mushrooms are safe only after fire has tamed their toxins. You walk with them, feet soft on the forest floor. The air smells of damp soil and green leaves. A child points to a cluster of nuts fallen beneath a tree, and the group gathers them quickly. Nuts are precious, full of fat and energy. They will be cracked open later with stones, the fragments eaten on the spot or carried back to share. Farther on, tubers are dug from the earth, their rough skins caked with muds. They do not look like much now, but roasted in the coals of a fire, they will soften into something filling and sweet. While the gatherers move through the forest, the hunters prepare in a different way. Their tools are sharpened stone points, lashed to wooden shafts, or heavier clubs carved smooth by many hands. They walk lightly, listening to the world around them, the distant chatter of birds, the crack of a twig, the shifting wind. Every sound is a clue, every silence too. To hunt is to think like another creature, to slip into its rhythm and predict its choices. Hunting is risky. A rabbit may be caught with a well-thrown stone, but larger prey requires strategy. A deer is swift and alert, a boar strong and dangerous. Sometimes the hunters return empty-handed, their efforts swallowed by the forest. Other times they come back triumphant, dragging the weight of an animal that will feed the band for days. Success means celebration. failure means hunger lingers longer. There is no waste when an animal is brought down. The meat is cut into strips, roasted, smoked, or dried. The hide becomes clothing. It's the sinew thread, the bones, tools, or weapons. Even the fat, rendered slowly over the fire, is collected for cooking or for rubbing into skin against the cold. To waste food is unthinkable. Every resource is precious, every part of life honored. But hunting and gathering are not separate paths. They work together. Meat alone is not enough to keep the body strong. Plants provide fiber, medicines, and the steady background of calories that carry a person through lean times. When meat is scarce, gathered foods sustain the groups. When plants are hard to find in the frozen months, meat becomes more vital. Survival is a balance, and balance comes from diversity. Sometimes food is shared between bands. When groups cross paths, there may be trade dried berries for flint blades, smoked meat for hides. These exchanges are more than practical. They build bonds, weaving a fragile web of connection between scattered families of humans. To share food is to show trust, to signal that you are not enemy but kin. The rituals of eating are simple but meaningful. At nights, when the hunters return and the gatherers lay out their finds, the group circles the fire. Food is passed hand to hand, portioned carefully. Children are fed first, then elders, then the rest. The rhythm is unspoken but respected. No one hoards, no one is left behind. To eat is to be together. The taste of food in this world is not seasoned or sweetened, as it will be in the future. It is the taste of earth, smoke and effort. Meat is rich and dense, sometimes tough, sometimes tender. Berries burst tart or sweet on the tongue. Roots are plain, but filling. Even water tastes alive, drawn from streams, cool and metallic with minerals. Every flavor is tied to the work it took to find it, and that makes each bite precious. There are hard times too, seasons when food grows scarce. In the deep of winter, when snow covers the ground and plants with the hunger sharpens. The band must rely on dried stores of meat and nuts, rationed carefully, each portion a reminder of how fragile survival can be. Bellies ache, and some nights sleep comes only in short fits, broken by the body's cry for more. These are the times when the strength of the group matters most, when sharing and endurance carry you through until the earth softens again. But there are also times of abundance. In summer, when berries are heavy on the branches and animals are fat from grazing, food seems to spill from the lands. The air is filled with the smell of roasting meat, the chatter of children with juice, stained faces. Laughter rises louder in these seasons. Stories grow longer by the fire, and the shadow of hunger loosens its grip for a while. Food is survival, but it is also identity. What you eat is what shapes your body, your energy, your very ability to keep living. Every hunt, every gathering waltz, every shared meal is part of a rhythm older than memory. It is not easy, and it is never certain, but it is what binds you to the land, to each other, and to the long chain of ancestors who have always asked the same question. What will we eat today? Tonight, as you lie in the cave, belly filled with roasted tubers and a small portion of meats, you feel the simple contentment that comes only from a day when hunger has been answered. The fire glows at your feet. The band murmurs softly around you, and for this moment, at least, you are safe. Tomorrow the question will return, as it always does. But tonight, you rest with warmth, with food, and with the knowledge that, for now, you have enough. The forest is quiet in the pale light of dawn. Mist clings low to the ground, curling between the roots of ancient trees, softening every edge into a blur. You and the hunters move in silence, each step placed with care, each breath measured. The air is damp and cool, filled with the faint sense of pine, wet earth, and the promise of prey. This is not a casual walk. This is the beginning of a hunt, and every sound, every movement matters. Preparation began long before the first step into the woods. Last night, tools were checked and sharpened, stone points chipped to new edges, wooden shafts smoothed where they had worns. Fire-hardened tips were tested against bark to be sure they would not splinter on impact. Nets and slings were untangled. Stones selected for weight and balance. Every hunter knows their role, for a hunt is not simply strength or speed. It is coordination, memories, and patience. The older hunters shared stories as they worked, reminders of hunts past, of the time a deer bolted too soon and was lost for days, of a boar that charged and gored before it fell, of the wolves that sometimes appear, drawn by bloods, eager to steal what humans risk their lives to bring down. These stories are not meant to frighten but to teach. The hunt is never certain, and to forget that is to court disaster. This morning you walk near Bran, one of the most experienced in the band. His eyes are sharp, always scanning the ground ahead. He notices things you might have missed: the bent stem of grass, the faint track pressed into the muds, the cluster of droppings that tell him an animal passed here in the night. He crouches low, brushing a finger across the earth, and points. The others gather around. A line of hoofprints stretches forward, half hidden by fallen leaves. Deer. Fresh. The group exhales quietly in shared recognition, and the pace quickens. Tracking is an art of patience. The hunters move in single files, each step falling where the step before has landed, minimizing sound. When twigs snap beneath a careless foot, heads turn sharply, eyes narrowing in warning. The forest itself seems to hold its breath. Birds burst from branches now and then, and each flutter of wings makes the group pause, waiting to see if larger movement follows. You feel your own heart beating faster, not from exertion but from the tension of anticipation. Hours pass this way, the trail leading deeper into the woods. The hunters whisper little, speaking instead through gestures. A raised hand means stop. A flick of fingers signals direction. Communication is spare, efficient, quiet. The goal is not only to find prey but to approach without being noticed. One mistake and the chance may vanish in an instant. At last, you glimpse movement ahead, a flicker of brown among the trees, the delicate tilt of a head. A deer grazing in the clearing, ears twitching at the smallest sound. It is not alone. Two younger deer graze nearby, their small bodies more vulnerable, but the larger one is the true prize. The group crouches low, breath shallow, bodies pressed close to the earth. Strategy now takes over. Some hunters begin to circle quietly, slipping through undergrowth to take positions ahead. Others stay back, bows and spears at the readies. The goal is to create confusion, to direct the deer into a path where hunters wait. It is dangerous, for a startled animal can run in any direction, and a wounded one can lash out with deadly force. But it is the way of the hunty risk for rewards. Time stretches thin as everyone waits. The deer lowers its head to feed again, tail flicking lazily. A signal passes silently between the hunters. Then, with a sudden shout, two figures burst from the brush, driving the deer forward. It startles, muscles rippling as it bolts straight into the path of those waiting. Spears fly, slicing the air with a hiss. One misses, thudding into the earth. Another strikes, glancing off the animal's flank. A final spear finds its mark, sinking deep into the sides. The deer stumbles, cries out, and crashes through the undergrowth, wounded but not yet fallen. Now comes the chase. The group surges forwards, pounding feet matching the frantic beat of hooves. Branches whip at your arms, breath comes sharp and fast, and the smell of blood mingles with the raw scent of the forest. The deer weaves and falters, losing strength. Finally, cornered against a thicket, it collapses to its knees. A final strike ends its struggle. The forest grows quiet again, save for the heavy breathing of the hunters. There is no cheering, no loud celebration, only relief and a deep respect for what has been taken. The hunters approach slowly, laying hands on the animal in silent acknowledgement. Words may be murmured. Thanks given to the spirit of the deer, to the forest, to the forces that allowed this success. The weight of what has happened is not lost. Life has ended so that others may live. It is the oldest exchange, the oldest truth of survival. The work begins immediately. Knives of sharpened stone cut into hide and flesh. Blood is collected in containers made of bark or skin. The hide is peeled carefully. for it will later become clothing or a blanket. Meat is divided into portions that can be carried back, wrapped in leaves or bound with sinews. Nothing will be wasted. The bones, sinews, and fat will all serve purposes in the days ahead. The journey back is slower. The weight of meat heavy on shoulders, but the mood lighter. Laughter returns in quiet bursts. Relief softens the hunter's expressions. Tonight, the band will eat well. Children will chew tender strips of roasted meat. Elders will strengthen with the nourishments, and the ache of hunger will ease. The fire will glow brighter, and the stories told will carry the warmth of success. And yet, even in this moment of triumph, the hunters know that tomorrow or the day after, the question will rise again. Where will the next meal come from? The hunt is never finished, never final. It is a cycle, repeated day after day, season after season, year after year. Each success buys only a little more time, a little more strength to continue the endless rhythm of survival. For now, though, as you step back into the cave with the hunters, greeted by the cheers and smiles of those who waited anxiously, the reward is enough. The fire is stoked higher, the smell of roasting meat fills the chamber, and for one night, at least, hunger will loosen its grips. Not every search for food requires spears, shouts, or the risk of a charging animal. Much of survival in your world depends on quieter work, the steady patience of gathering. When hunters move out with their weapons, gatherers set off in another direction, slipping into the forest with baskets woven from reeds, slings of hides, or simple leather pouches tied at their waists. Their tools are not for killing, but for knowing sharp eyes, long memory, and careful hands. The forest is alive with possibilities, though they are not obvious to the untrained. To an outsider, it might look like endless greens, a sea of leaves and stems with little to offer. But to the gatherers, every plant tells a story, a certain shine to a berry's skins, the faint serration of a leaf, the smell released when a stalk is broken. All of these are clues. Some plants nourish, some heals, others sicken or kill. To walk in the forest is to walk through a living pharmacy, a kitchen, and a storehouse all at once. The difference between food and poison rests on knowledge, and knowledge rests on memory. A small group moves together this morning, 3 women, an elder and 2 children old enough to help but young enough to still be learning. The elder walks in front, her steps slow but short, her eyes catching every subtle sign. She pauses by a bush heavy with berries and bends close, examining it. She plucks one and crushes it lightly between her fingers. The juice stains her skin deep purple. Safe. The children are allowed to taste it, their lips quickly painted with color, their delighted giggles muffled into silence by a sharp glance. They learn quickly that laughter in the forest can carry too far, disturbing birds or warning animals. Each discovery is added to the day's collection. Berries drop into woven baskets with a soft patter. A cluster of mushrooms is cut carefully with a flake of stone, the stem clean, the cap intact. The elder nods approval, then warns, not all mushrooms are safe, and even the right ones must sometimes be cooked over fire to drive out hidden bitterness. The children's eyes widen. They are learning not just what to gather, but how to respect it. Tubers are next, dug from beneath the soil with pointed sticks. It is dirty work, hands coated with damp earth, but the reward is worth it. Thick roots come free with a pop, their knobby skins promising filling meals once roasted. A pile of them grows quickly. These are treasures that keep bellies full when meat is scarce, a dependable anchor in the rhythm of survival. Gathering is not only about food. Along the way, plants are collected for medicine as well. Leaves with soothing oils are tucked into pouches for treating cuts. The bitter roots are dug for stomach pain. The bark of certain trees is stripped in thin curls, later to be brewed into a healing drink. These remedies are not cures in the way that future medicine will be, but they are lifelines. Without them, infection, sickness, and injury would claim many more lives. The forest also offers materials for daily living. Fibers are pulled from stems, later to be twisted into cord or woven into mats. Sticky resins are scraped from trees to use as glues. Smooth stones are pocketed for grinding or cracking nuts. Even the gathering baskets themselves, woven and patched with careful hands, are the products of forest gifts. As the group moves deeper, the children grow restless. One begins to hum softly, the sound rising above the buzz of insects. The elder pauses, listening. A hum is harmless, but too much noise might startle prey that hunters pursue nearby, or mask the subtle signs of danger. She touches the child's arm gently, shaking her head, and the hum dies away. Learning in this world is constant, and every mistake is corrected quickly, but with patience. Not all dangers in the forest walk on four legs. Plants themselves can be traps. The gatherers pass a cluster of berries that look almost identical to the ones they picked earlier, but these gleam with a different shine. Their stems thinner, their smell faintly bitter. The elder points them out, explaining softly. The children peer closely, committing the differences to memory. A wrong choice could mean illness, even death. This is why children walk with elders, why memory is passed not through writing but through living, tasting, watching, and repeating. By midday, the baskets are heavy. The forest has been generous today, berries, nuts, roots, herbs, and mushrooms all collected. The group pauses by a stream to rest. Hands are dipped into the cool water, faces splashed, thirst quenched. The children play briefly, skipping stones across the surface, but even play has lessons. One child notices a bird swooping down to snatch an insect from the water's edge. The elder nods approvingly. Watch the birds, she murmurs. They show us where food is. Even in play, the forest teaches. On the journey back, the gatherers mark landmarks, a patch of mushrooms that will grow again, a tree heavy with nuts not yet ripe, a trail of bees leading somewhere that may be a hidden hive. Knowledge of the land is layered this way, built from countless walks and seasons. It is a map drawn not on bark or stone, but in memory, shared through stories and repetition. When they return to the caves, the hunters are not yet back. The gatherers spread their bounty near the fire, children proudly presenting their finds to parents and siblings. Tubers are tossed into the glowing embers to roast slowly, filling the air with their earthy scent. Berries are eaten fresh, staining fingers and lips. Herbs are set aside carefully for later use. Nothing is wasted, and nothing is taken for granted. As the evening comes, and the hunters return with their catch, the two groups rejoin. Meat and plants, strength and patience, risk and care, all combine into the shared meal. Around the fire, children nibble roasted roots, elders sip warm broth made from herbs, and laughter flows more freely now that the day's work is done. Gathering may not have the drama of the hunt, but it carries equal weight. Without it, survival would falter. The hunters may bring back feasts, but the gatherers bring back the steady heartbeat of daily life. The roots that fill the belly, the leaves that heal wounds, the fibers that weave into cord, the small, consistent gifts of the forest. As you settle to sleep, you realize that it is not only the strength of spears that sustains your band. It is the quiet, patient work of those who know the forest's secrets, who can coax a meal from soil, leaf, and stone. The forest provides, but only for those who have learned to listen. The sound is sharp but not harsh, steady but never monotonous. Chip, chip, chips. A rhythm you come to recognize as one of the defining sounds of life in the Paleolithic world. It is the music of survival, the percussion of stone striking stone. Every tool you hold, every knife, scraper, or spear point begins with this sound. The work is patience, deliberate. A piece of flint, or sometimes chert, is held in one hand, a hammerstone in the other. The hammerstone is not just any rock. It has been chosen carefully, dense, smooth, and heavy enough to deliver a controlled strike. Each blow must land at precisely the right angles. Too hard and the core fractures uselessly. Too soft and nothing happens. At the wrong angle, the stone splinters unpredictably, wasting precious material. But at the right touch, a flake breaks free, thin and sharp as a razor. You cradle a newly struck flake in your palms. Its edge gleams in the light of the fire. This tiny sliver of stone, sharper than modern steel, will be fitted into a wooden shaft. It's bound with sinew and sealed with resin. Tomorrow it may fly as the tip of a spear. Tomorrow it may be the difference between hunger and a meal. Tool making is more than craft. It is knowledge preserved across countless generations. Each strike is guided by memory of how stones fracture, how different kinds respond. Flint is prized because it fractures predictably. Obsidian, when found, is even better. Volcanic glass that creates edges sharp enough to cut at the level of individual cells. But obsidian is rare, it's often requiring long journeys or exchanges with distant groups. Flint, by contrast, is more common, often found along rivers and in chalky ground. When a good source is discovered, it becomes part of the band's mental map, revisited season after season. Sitting in the fire's glow, you work your own piece of stone. Others sit nearby, their hands busy with the same task. The air is filled with the dry, ringing notes of stone against stone. Children watch, imitating the movements with small pieces too soft to be useful. They will learn by trying, breaking more rocks than they shape. But each mistake is part of the slow apprenticeship of survival. The process is called napping, though you do not name it as such. For you, it is simply life. You strike the stone, angle it, turn it, strike again. A mental picture forms as you go. The shape you want, the thickness, the curve of the edge. You are sculpting function, not beauty, though there is a beauty in the precision itself. Your tool takes shape. A knife, broad and sharp-edged, good for cutting hide or slicing meat. The edges will dull quickly with use, but they can be retouched again and again. A good knife is not just an object, it is a companion reshaped and repaired throughout its life, almost alive in its usefulness. Nearby, another member of your band works on a hand axe. Larger than a knife, it requires careful shaping on both sides, a balance between weight and sharpness. The axe will serve for chopping wood, digging roots, or breaking bones to reach the marrow inside. Bone marrow is a rich source of fat and nutrients, so valuable that no carcass is ever wasted. Tools like this open the door to the hidden richness of the natural world. Resins from trees play their role as well. Gatherers return with sticky lumps of pitch scraped from bark. Heated gently over the fire, it softens and becomes adhesives. You smear it along a shaft, press a stone blade into place, then bind it tightly with strips of sinew. When it cools, the joint is firm. The tool whole. Nothing in your world is held together by nails or glue from a store. Everything is bound by the patient gifts of nature, fibers, sinew, resin, hide. Bone and antler also enter into your toolkit. Hard, light, and flexible, they are shaped into needles, hooks, and points. Bone needles, drilled with tiny eyes, allow hides to be sewn with sinew threads, producing garments that fit closely and keep out the cold. Hooks carved from bone catch fish in rivers. Awls pierce leather, making holes for ties and toggles. Tools are not limited to stone. Every part of an animal, every gift of the forest, is turned to purpose. Even the waste flakes from napping are useful. The thin, razor-sharp slivers can be used immediately as cutting blades, discarded once dulled. Nothing is thrown away without thought. In a world where survival rests on resourcefulness, even fragments carry values. The work is not silent ritual, but social practice. As you chip away at your stone, you listen to others speak softly. Stories are told, knowledge passed down. A child asks why some flakes curve and others do not. An elder explains, showing the angle, the feel of the stones. Wisdom flows not from books, but from hands and voices, repeated until it is known by heart. By afternoon, your knife is finished. You test it on a strip of hide, the blade slicing cleanly. Satisfaction runs through you. A good tool is security. Tomorrow, it may be used to cut meat, shape wood, or defend against danger. You tuck it carefully into your leather pouch. Alongside other essentials, fire, starting materials, spare sinew, small flakes for quick cutting. Around the fire, tools accumulate: knives, scrapers, awls, spear points. The band's arsenal grows, each piece the product of hours of patience. These tools are not possessions in the modern sense. They are extensions of skill, born of necessity. They belong not to individuals alone, but to the group. When someone needs a blade, another lends it freely, knowing tomorrow the sharing may be reversed. As evening falls, the firelight glints on rows of sharpened edges. Shadows dance on the cave walls, thrown by the movements of hands at work. Children grow drowsy, lulled by the rhythmic sound of stone on stone. Chip, 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 a lullaby of survival. You lie back, the new knife warm in your pouch, the fire crackling nearby. You think of how many hands before yours have struck stone against stone. How many will follow? This is the thread that ties generations together. Not words on paper, but edges shaped from rock, enduring long after flesh and bone are gone. And so, in the quiet glow of firelight, surrounded by the familiar percussion of crafting, you close your eyes. The tools are ready. Tomorrow will bring its challenges. But for tonight, the rhythm of stone has done its work, shaping not only tools but the steady heartbeat of your people's survival. The air grows sharper as the season turns. Even before you step outside the cave, you can feel it. The bite of cold that makes your breath rise in pale clouds. In this world, clothing is not fashion, but survival. Every stitch, every layer of hide is a barrier between your warm body and the chill that threatens to steal it away. You begin with skins, the foundation of every garment. When an animal is hunted, its hide is not wasted. After the meat is stripped and the bones carried off for tools, the hide remains heavy and raw. Preparing it is laborious work, but one of the most important tasks of the band. Women and men alike sit together, scraping away fat and sinew with sharp stone scrapers until the skin is clean. Then comes softening, stretching, pulling, rubbing it with animal brains or fat to keep it pliable. The smell is strong, earthy and pungent, but when the work is finished, the hide is supple, bendable, and ready to be shaped. Clothing is rarely a single layer. In colder climates, you wrap yourself in multiple hides, fur turned inward for warmth, outer layers made tough against wind and damp. A cloak of wolf pelts, a tunic of deer hides, leggings bound with sinew thongs, all of these combine to make a barrier that lets you step into the cold without fear. Sewing, though simple, is a craft of skill. A bone needle, slender and strong, carries sinew thread through punctured holes in the hides. The stitches are coarse by modern standards, but they hold. Every piece is functional, cut to cover the body, to trap warmths, to protect against rain or snow. Some are decorated, pierced with shells, painted with ochre, edged with fringe, but always the decoration comes after function. To live, one must first be warm. Footwear is equally vital. You wrap your feet in soft hide, sometimes stuffed with dried grass for insulation, tied with thongs around the ankles. These shoes keep the frost from biting. Without them, frostbite would come quickly, crippling you, perhaps killing you. Even the smallest detail of clothing can be the difference between life and death. In the shelter of the caves, clothing is supplemented by bedding. Piles of dried grass and leaves, covered in hides, form sleeping mats. These are not luxuries, but essentials. The earth is cold, its chill rising through stone and soil, and only thick layers stand between you and its bite. At night, families huddle together beneath shared hides, body heat mingling, keeping one another alive through the long darkness. Still, the cave is not always enough. Caves are precious, but not every group has one to rely on. Some must make shelters wherever they roam. You have seen them, huts of wood and hide, circular and low, designed to hold in heat. Branches are driven into the ground, bent together to form a frame, then layered with hides stitched into sheets. Sometimes mammoth bones, immense and curved, serve as supports, with hides stretched across like canvas. Stones are piled at the edges to hold the structure in place against the wind. Inside, a hearth glows at the center. Smoke curls upward, finding its way through a vent in the roof, though some always lingers, filling the shelter with a haze that stings the eyes. Around the fire, people sit close, clothing hanging on racks to dry, tools scattered within reach. In winter, these shelters are lifelines, warm enough to hold back the worst of the cold. When the band moves on, the shelters are sometimes abandoned, left for another group to find, or dismantled so the hides can be carried to the next camps. Nothing is left to waste. A mammoth hide is too precious to leave behind, too hard-won to be forgotten. Even within caves, you make the space your own. Fire pits are placed carefully where smoke can drift outward, but warmth can still spread through the chambers. Stones are arranged in circles to mark the hearth. Racks are set up for drying meat, for hanging hides, for storing tools. The cave floor is swept, fresh bedding laid where old grass has grown damp. Small spaces within the stone walls become alcoves for storage, or places for children to play. The cave itself is not just shelter but memory. Generations before you have lived within its walls. Their soot stains the ceiling, their bones lie buried in shallow pits near the back. To live here is to live among them, to share warmth, not only with the living but with the traces of the dead. There is comfort in this. At night, when the wind howls outside and the snow drifts thick against the entrance, you lie beneath your furs and hear the fire crackles. The hides smell of smoke and earth, of the animals whose lives were given. You are warm because of their gift, alive because of their presence. The shelter is not only stone and hide, it is the union of all the living and the dead, all the efforts of hands and the bounty of the lands. But clothing and shelter are never finished tasks. They are always in need of repair. A tear in a cloak must be sewn before it widens. A shoe must be patched before the cold seeps in. A shelter wall must be secured after the wind has battered it. Life is maintenance. Constant attention, endless small repairs. Yet each repair is an act of care, each stitch a thread tying you to tomorrow. Sometimes there is beauty too. Beads made of bone or shell are sewn into hides. Feathers are tied into cloaks. Red ochre is painted in patterns across clothing, marking identity, belonging, perhaps even telling stories that words cannot. A cloak decorated this way is more than protection. It is a statement, a reminder that survival does not strip away humanity, but deepens it. As night falls, you settle again into the cave. The fire glows, the hides are pulled close, and the bitter wind outside is only a faint whisper against the stone. You are wrapped in the warmth of your people, your clothes, your shelters, your shared fire. The cold will not reach you tonight. And as your eyes close, you understand that survival is not only in hunting or fire, making, but in the weaving together of fur and hide, of branches and stones, of people and place. Clothing and shelter are not luxuries. They are the very skin of your worlds, the thin but unbreakable barrier that lets you live another day in the Paleolithic age. The forest is quiet at dawn, its silence broken only by the rustle of leaves and the faint call of birds. You rise with the rest of the band, preparing not for the chase of animals, but for the slower, steadier work of gathering. Hunting brings meat, fat, and hides, but gathering brings the food that fills most days: plants, roots, berries, nuts. Without them, the band would starve in the spaces between hunts. A woven basket of twisted fibers hangs from your shoulder, light and flexible, strong enough to hold what you collect. The weave is coarse but clever. Each strip of bark or grass bent and knotted until it forms a container that will serve for many seasons. Some carry skins tied at the necks, others simple pouches made from folded hides. Tools for carrying are as vital as tools for cutting. You walk in small groups, women, men, children, elders, each with eyes scanning the ground, the branches, the undergrowth. Knowledge guides every step. You know which plants nourish, which poison, which heal. You know the seasons of berries, the places where roots grow thick, the times when nuts are ready to fall. This knowledge is not written in any book. It is carried in memory, passed through stories and lessons, through hands that point and voices that caution. Today you seek berries. The season has turned to late summer, when bushes along the forest edge are heavy with fruit. The children are quick to spot them, darting forward, its fingers stained red and purple as they pluck and eat. A watchful elder scolds gently, "Eat some, yes, but leave enough to carry back." The ban depends on what is gathered, not only for today, but for the leaner days that will follow. The berries are sweet, a burst of juice in your mouth. You fill your basket, careful to avoid those with bitter taste or strange smell. Poisonous berries exist, their danger taught from childhood. A mistake is rarely forgiven by the body. The knowledge of safe plants is as critical as the sharpest spears. From berries you move to roots. Near a stream, you kneel to dig with a sharpened stick, loosening the soils. Pulling free long tubers thick with starch. They are not sweet like berries, but they fill the belly and give strength for walking, carrying, hunting. The earth is generous, but only if you know how to ask. Mushrooms draw your eye next. Their shapes rise from the damp soil round, white, brown, some spotted, some plain. You crouch and study them. Some are food, delicious and safe. Others are deadly. The difference may lie in a faint color, a scent, the way they bruise when touched. Elders teach by showing, by warnings, by repeating until the lesson is fixed in memory. You take only the safe ones, leaving the rest untouched. Nuts are another prize. In the tall trees, their shells wait, hard and stubborn. You strike branches with long sticks, bringing the nuts down. They scatter in the grass, where quick hands gather them before animals do. These will be carried back, cracked open by fire or stone, their rich meat shared. Some will be buried in shallow pits, hidden caches for winter. As the baskets fill, the group pauses. Children chase each other between the trees, laughter rising like birdsong. One of the elders points to a plant with narrow leaves, explaining its use as medicine. Crushed and placed on wounds, it slows bleeding. Another plant, its roots ground and boiled, eases fevers. Even in gathering food, you are reminded that plants give more than sustenance. They heal, they cure, they comfort. Not all food is gathered on land. At the riverbank, some crouch with sharpened sticks, spearing fish that glint in the shallow waters. Others wade in, feeling with bare feet for mussels and clams. Shellfish are pried from rocks, their shells carried in baskets to be cracked open by fire later. Even small creatures, snails, insects, grubs, are not ignored. In times of hunger, every bite counts. By midday, the baskets are heavy. You return slowly toward camp, burdened but satisfied. The sun is high, warming your back, and the smell of crushed plants clings to your hands. Each step is measured. You guard your load carefully. The forest has given, and you must respect its gift. Back at the cave, the gathered food is sorted. Berries are spread on hides to dry in the sun, preserving them for later. Nuts are cracked, some eaten immediately, others stored. Roots are roasted in the fire's coals, softening their fibers, releasing their energy. Mushrooms are added to stews, their flavor mingling with meat from the hunt. Fish are cleaned, their scales glinting in the light before they too are laid on stones by the fire. The smell of food fills the cave. The band gathers, children eager, adults careful, making sure all are fed. The meal is simple, but it is abundance. You eat berries, sweet against the earthiness of roasted roots. You crack nuts, the taste rich and oily on your tongue. You chew fish, tender and smoky. Each bite is survival, but also more than survival. It is the taste of the land, of the season, of the day's labor. At night, the baskets lie empty beside the fires, ready for tomorrow's work. The memory of today's gathering is not written, but it lingers in the body, in the strength gained, in the stories told around the fire, in the lessons repeated to the children. Knowledge is the greatest storehouse of all, more important than any cache of nuts or pile of berries. As you lie back beneath your furs, you feel the fullness of your bellies, the warmth of the fire, the nearness of your people. Gathering may not carry the danger of hunting, but it carries equal weight in survival. Each root dug, each berry picked, each nut cracked, is part of the thread that ties you to tomorrow. And as sleep comes, you dream not of spears or hunts, but of the quiet abundance of the forest. its fruits, its roots, its hidden gifts. The steady rhythm of hands plucking, digging, carrying. The knowledge that the earth provides, if only you know how to listen. The hunt begins long before the first spear is thrown. It begins with watching. For days, sometimes weeks, you and your band observe the movements of animals. You note where deer drink at the river, where bison graze in the open meadows, where mammoths trudge in slow procession across the plain. Knowledge of the land is knowledge of the hunt, and without it, every weapon is useless. At dawn, the hunters rise quietly, dressing in layers of hide. The air is crisp, your breath clouding as you tighten sinew bindings on your spear. Some carry throwing sticks, others carry longer spears meant for close thrusts. The stone tips gleam faintly, carefully napped and bound with resin and sinew. Each weapon is the result of hours of work, but today it will meet its test in living flesh. The band does not hunt recklessly. Animals are strong, fast, and dangerous. A bison can gore with its horns, a wild horse can kick with lethal force, and a mammoth, towering and furious, can crush with a single step. To face such beasts alone would be folly. The hunt is always shared, always coordinated. Scouts move ahead, their eyes sharp for tracks. In the soft earth, by the river, they find the cloven prints of deer, fresh and clear. Droppings nearby confirm the trails. You kneel and touch the marks, feeling the story in the soil, the direction of travel, the number of animals, even their speeds. Knowledge of tracks is as important as the spear itself. The hunters spread out, silent as shadows. You follow the trail through grass and underbrush until you glimpse movement ahead, a small herd of deer. Their heads bent to graze. Hearts quicken, but no one rushes. The key is patience, strategy. A good hunt means not just killings, but ensuring the animal does not escape wounded, lost to the forest. Two hunters circle wide, moving downwind, their steps muffled by soft earths. Others wait, crouched low, ready to drive the deer toward the ambush. Children and elders remain at camp, but they too will share in the kills. For the hunt is never only for those who carry spears. It is for all. The signal is given, a hand raised, a bird call imitations. The drive begins. Hunters leap from cover, shouting, waving arms, startling the herd. The deer bolt, scattering in panic. But the path has been chosen carefully, funneling them toward the hidden spearmen. As the animals rush past, spears are hurled with swift precision. One finds its mark, sinking deep into the flank of a young deer. The animal stumbles, crashing into the grass. The hunt does not end here. The deer struggles, thrashing in pain. You rush forward, heart pounding, and thrust your spear into its chest. The breath rattles, the body stills. Silence returns, broken only by the heavy breathing of the hunters. The kill is complete. A cheer rises, not loud, but filled with relief and gratitude. The deer will feed the band for days. Its hide will clothe, its sinew will bind, its bones will serve as tools. Nothing will be wasted. But not every hunt is so swift. Sometimes the quarry is larger, bison, aurochs, or even mammoth. These require greater planning, more hunters, sometimes even the shaping of the land itself. Pits are dug, lined with sharpened stakes, hidden beneath branches. Fires are lit to drive animals toward the traps. In some places, cliffs are used, hunters working together to drive herds toward the edge, forcing them to fall. These great hunts are dangerous, costly, but the reward is immense, thousands of pounds of meat. Hides large enough to cover shelters, bones strong enough to build with. Hunting is not only strength but endurance. Sometimes, animals are pursued for hours, even days. You chase them across plains, not fast enough to match their sprint, but steady, relentless. Humans are persistent hunters, using sweat and stamina to outlast prey. As the sun climbs, the animal grows wary, overheated, unable to escape. At last, it slows, collapses, and is taken. It is a test of will, of endurance beyond measure, but it is a method known and trusted. The dangers are real. A cornered boar can tear open a hunter with its tusks. A wounded bison may turn on its pursuers. Even a deer, frightened and strong, can break bones with a well-placed kick. Some hunters do not return. Their names are remembered in stories told by the fire, their courage honored. Each hunt carries the weight of risk, the shadow of loss. When the deer is killed, the work begins immediately. The animal is blood, its body opened with sharp stone knives. Meat is cut into strips, packed into baskets or carried on poles. The liver, fresh and rich, is eaten at once, a reward and a source of strength. The hide is cleaned and rolled, the sinew set aside to dry. Bones are carried back whole to be broken later for marrows. Even the stomach and intestines are cleaned, used as water carriers or cooking vessels. Nothing is left behind. To waste would dishonor the animal, and dishonor would risk the goodwill of the spirits that grant the hunt. Back at camps, the return is met with joy. Children run to meet the hunters, eyes wide at the sight of the carcass. Fires are stoked higher, stones heated for cooking. The smell of roasting meat fills the air, mingling with smoke and laughter. Songs may be sung, simple chants of thanks and pride. The band feasts, sharing equally, for the hunt is for all. In the days that follow, the meat will be dried, smoked, stored. Strips are laid over racks above the fire, the smoke keeping insects away, the heat drawing out moisture. Properly preserved, the food will last for weeks, carried with the band as it moves. At night, after the feast, you sit by the fire, the taste of fresh meat still on your tongue. The hunt lingers in your mind. The rush of the chase, the sound of hooves pounding earth, the sight of the spear striking true. Hunting is not only survival, it is the rhythm of life itself. It binds the band together in risk and reward, in hunger and in plenty. You close your eyes to sleep, the crackle of fire mingling with the remembered thunder of hooves. Tomorrow, there may be another hunt, or many days may pass before the need arises again. But always, the knowledge remains you are hunters, shaped by the lands, sustained by the animals who give their lives. And in that balance, life endures. Fire is more than warmth. It is more than light. For your people, fire is life itself. Without it, you are vulnerable to cold, to darkness, to predators. With it, you carve out a bubble of safety in a world that is vast and wild. Fire is your shield, your tool, and your companions. The fire at the center of the cave never fully dies. Through the night, someone tends it, feeding small twigs, blowing gently on glowing embers, ensuring that when morning comes there will be warmth to greet you. It is a responsibility shared by all, young and old alike. To let the fire go out is no small failure. It means hours of labor to coax flame from sparks, or days of searching to find another band willing to share theirs. Making fire is possible, but not simple. It can be done by striking flint against pyrite, catching the shower of sparks on a nest of dried grass or fungus, or by the bow drill, a labor of pressure and patience, where wood spins against wood until friction births smoke, then flame. But these methods are never guaranteed. They require strength, skill, and luck. Better always to keep the embers alive. Once the flames are kindled, fire takes on a rhythm of its own. Larger logs are added, each chosen for a purpose. Birch bark flares brightly, its sweet scent rising in white smoke. Oak burns steady and long, throwing off deep heat. Pine crackles and spits resin, smoky but fierce in flame. You know the woods not only by their look but by their smells, by the sound they make when they burn. Around the fire, daily life gathers. It is the hearth, the center of your world. People sit close, warming stiff fingers, mending clothing, sharpening tools. Children learn by watching, their wide eyes fixed on the slow, glowing dance of embers. Stories are told here, shadows thrown against stone walls as voices weave the old tales. The fire listens, the fire remembers. But perhaps the greatest gift of fire is in cooking. Raw meat fills the belly but can carry sickness. Fire transforms it, making it safer, softer, richer. It loosens fibers, releases fat, deepens flavors. It is the difference between gnawing and savoring. When a kill is brought back, the fire becomes a feast. Stones are heated until they glow red, then dropped into water, filled skins or wooden troughs. The sizzle of hot rock meeting cool liquid releases a sharp hiss of steam. Meat is dropped in, boiled until tender, flavored with wild garlic or herbs gathered in the forest. Other cuts are skewered on sticks, roasted slowly over open flame, the fat dripping and hissing, smoke curling into the air. Roots and tubers, dug from the earths, are wrapped in leaves and buried under hot ashes. Hours later they emerge softened, their starchy insides sweet and nourishing. Nuts are cracked and tossed onto heated stones, roasted until their oils perfume the air. Even insects, gathered carefully, are crisped over flame, their crunch transformed into a surprising delicacy. The smells of cooking drift through the cave, thick and enticing. They cling to hides and hair, becoming the scent of home itself, smoke, meat, earth, and ash. When food is ready, it is shared, portioned with care. The hunters who risked their lives are honored, but no one is left hungry. To keep food from others would weaken the band. Unity is survival, not all meals are feasts. Some days, when the hunt fails, you eat little more than roots and dried berries. But even then, the fire makes them better. A root blackened by flame is sweetness hidden within. A bitter nut becomes richer when roasted. Fire is transformation, turning scarcity into nourishment. Cooking is also preservation. Meat cannot last long in the open air, but over the fire it can be dried, smoked, kept for journeys to come. Strips are cut thin and laid across wooden racks. The steady smoke driving away flies, the heat drawing out moisture. When ready, they are tough and chewy, but they will keep for weeks. This is food not for today, but for tomorrow. Sometimes food is carried far from the cave, wrapped in hides, stored in woven bags of plant fibers. Hunters take it with them on long pursuits. Gatherers carry it to sustain them as they roam for hours. Wherever you go, a piece of the fire goes with you, in smoke-cured meat, in charred roots, in embers nestled inside bark, glowing gently, ready to spark new flame. The fire is also sacred. It is not only practical, but spiritual. Some believe it was a gift from the skies, lightning striking dry grass. Others say it was stolen from animals or spirits, carried into human hands by a brave ancestor. To sit by firelight is to sit in the company of mystery. Flames dance, leap, twist upward, never still, never entirely known. Children gaze into them and imagine shapes. Elders see omens, signs of fortune or warning. The fire carries your voices into the dark. Songs are sung here, slow chants that echo from stone walls blending with the crackle of wood. Dances are performed, shadows flickering in the firelight, movements telling stories of hunts past, of ancestors long gone. Firelight makes memory visible. Even the smallest ember is precious. At night, when the fire burns low, it is covered carefully with ash to hold in the heat. In the mornings, it can be uncovered, coaxed back to flame with breath and tinder. To see a spark grow into fire is to witness life itself reborn. And yet, fire is dangerous too. Left untended, it can leap beyond control, devouring hides, tools, even lives. Children are warned never to play too close. Hunters carry scars from flames that burn too hot. Fire is power, but power demands respect. Tonight, as you sit by the flames, your belly full from roasted deer and boiled roots, the fire's warmth soaks into your skins. The smell of smoke clings to your hair, comforting in its familiarity. Beyond the cave mouth, the forest is dark, filled with unknown sounds. But here, bathed in firelight, you are safe. The flames rise and fall, embers glowing like stars against the earths. You stretch out on your grass mat, pulling a hide over your shoulders, and let the crackle of wood lull you into stillness. The last thing you hear before sleep is the soft sigh of fire, eternal and alive, keeping watch as dreams carry you away. The Paleolithic world is not gentle. Wind, rain, frost, and sun wear down your body as surely as hunger or predators. Survival is not only about food and fire, it is about protection, about shaping the world to fit your needs. Clothing and tools, crafted by human hands, are what allow you to endure. Your first line of defense is clothing. Without it, even the fire's warmth cannot shield you from icy nights or driving storms. The hides of animals are more than trophies of the hunt. They are lifelines. When a deer or bison is brought down, the meat feeds the band, but the hide, thick, durable, pliable when worked, is treasured for its ability to wrap and shield. Processing hides is labor-intensive, often the work of those who remain in the cave while hunters travel. Fresh skins are heavy, wet with blood and fats. They are scraped carefully with stone tools, the flesh removed, the hair sometimes left on for warmth, or stripped away for softness. To make a hide pliable, it is soaked, stretched, and smoked over a low fire. Sometimes fat or marrow is rubbed into the fibers, softening them, making them flexible. It is patient work, but without it the hide would stiffen and rot. From these prepared skins, clothing is shaped. Simple garments, tunics cut roughly to form, leggings tied with sinew, cloaks fastened with bone pins. Each piece is practical, meant for warmth and mobility. In winter, furs are layered thick, insulating the body against bitter cold. In summer, lighter skins are worn, or none at all when heat allows. Shoes, fashioned from softer hides, are stuffed with grasses for padding, protecting feet from stones and frosts. Decoration is not absent though. Sometimes beads of bone, teeth, or shells are sewn into seams. Strips of dyed fiber or ochre, painted patterns adorn cloaks. Clothing is not only survival, it is identity, marking who you are within the bands, and connecting you to the stories and spirits you believe guide your life. Alongside clothing comes crafting, the art that defines humanity's edge over the wild. Stone is your oldest ally, shaped into blades, scrapers, and points. A simple flake of flint, sharp as any tooth, can cut hide, carve wood, or butcher meat. More skilled hands strike stone against stones, knapping with precision, chipping away flakes to reveal symmetry, sharpness, and strengths. The resulting tools are not random shards. They are shaped with intent, the product of knowledge passed down through countless generations. Bone, too, is transformed. From the carcasses of animals come awls for piercing hides, needles for sewing, smooth handles for tools. Antlers are carved into wedges, picks, and ornaments. Even discarded fragments have purpose, reshaped into scrapers or burned for fuels. Nothing is wasted. Every part of an animal finds a second life in human hands. Wood is gathered with equal care. Branches are trimmed and straightened into spear shafts, smoothed with stone. Some are hardened in fire, the tips charred to strength. Others are fitted with stone or bone blades, lashed tight with sinew and plant fiber. Spears, digging sticks, clubs, all shaped by fire, stones, and patience. Extend your reach, give you power beyond bare hands. Crafting is rarely solitary. It is done in groups near the firelights, where scraps can be shared and skills observed. Children sit close, watching as elders scrape hides, chip flint, bore holes in bones. They imitate with smaller pieces, learning slowly by doing. A dropped stone, a cut finger, a ruined hide. These are the lessons of practice. Over time, clumsy hands grow steady and skill becomes instinct. Some crafts are practical, others lean toward the symbolics. Strings of shells gathered from riverbanks, polished smooth, are threaded into necklaces. Pigments of red ochre, yellow clay, or black charcoal are ground and mixed, painted onto hides, tools, or skin. A spear is not only a weapon but a story, marked with lines or dots that carry meaning known best to its maker. Art and utility blur, both serving survival, both connecting the present to memory. In the rhythms of daily life, crafting fills the spaces between. After the hunt, when meat smokes and hides dry, hands stay busy. Idle time is rare. To be still too long is to fall behind, to risk hunger, cold, or weakness. So you mend a shoe, sharpen a blade, sew a seam. Every stitch, every flake of stone is an act of preparation for the hardships that lie ahead. Clothing and tools also link you to others. A well-made spear may be gifted or traded. A cloak stitched with rare shells might mark status or kinships. Knowledge itself is a form of wealth. The ability to make fire, hardened points, or supple leather ensures your place in the group. Skills are respected as much as strength. At night, as the firelight flickers, you wrap yourself in hides softened by many hours of work. Your cloak smells of smoke and earth, of the animal it once was. In your hand rests a stone blade, its edge still keen, its weight familiar. These things are more than possessions. They are extensions of your body, of your will against the vastness of nature. Without clothing, you would freeze. Without tools, you would starve. But with them, you do more than survive. You endure, you adapt, you thrive. The cave around you is filled with the evidence of this quiet labor: scraps of hide curled in piles, flakes of stone scattered on the ground, half-finished tools waiting for polish. It is a place shaped not only by nature but by hands, by intention. As you drift towards sleep, the soft rasp of someone scraping hide continues nearby, steady and rhythmic. Sparks crackle from the fire, glinting off bone beads, stone edges, and carefully sewn seams. Survival, you realize, is not only about the hunt, not only about strength or speed. It is about making, shaping, crafting the world so that it bends, however slightly, to human need. And so you sleep, wrapped in the warmth of hides, surrounded by the quiet work of countless hands. Tomorrow will bring more labor, more creation. The tools of survival will never be finished, but always remade, as endless as the fire's glow. Not every meal comes from the hunt. Animals are unpredictable, sometimes plentiful, sometimes absent. A band cannot survive on meat alone. Roots, berries, nuts, and leaves, gathered patiently by careful hands, provide balance, variety, and reliability. Plant food does not chase you, does not flee at the sound of footsteps. It waits in the earth, in the brush, in the trees. But to gather well is a skill as deep as hunting's. At first light, gatherers set out from the cave, carrying woven baskets or simple skin bags, their steps familiar on forest paths. The world is alive with possibilities, but knowledge is everything. Some plants heal, others harm. A wrong root can sicken the stomachs. A poisonous berry can kill. The elders know the difference, and their lessons are passed on carefully, season after season. Spring brings the first tender shoots. Young greens push through damp soil, their leaves soft, their taste sharp with freshness. Nettles, if boiled, become edible, rich and sustaining. Wild onions add flavor to broths and stews. Mushrooms sprout in shadowed places, but only certain kinds are safe. Each is inspected, tested, compared to memory before it is placed into the basket. Summer offers abundance. Bushes sag under the weight of berries, blue, red, and purple, each sweet, tart, or bitter. Children's hands stain with juice as they gather, tongues sneaking tastes, laughter echoing through the trees. Nuts swell in their shells, heavy with promise. Roots grow fat and starchy beneath the ground, their tops a signal to those who know where to dig. Autumn is the season of storing. Berries are dried on flat stones, warmed by the sun. Nuts are cracked, their meat eaten fresh or kept in skin pouches. Roots are dug in great numbers, roasted and smoked to preserve them through the cold months. Leaves are stripped and bundled, useful for teas or poultices when illness comes. Even winter gives gifts if one knows where to look. Bark can be peeled and chewed for nourishment. Evergreen needles can be boiled for their sharp, healing drink. Roots lie hidden in frozen soils, harder to dig but still there, waiting beneath the frost. Gathering does not end with the seasons. It shifts, adapts, endures. The act of gathering is slow, patient work. Eyes scan the ground for familiar shapes. Hands part grasses to reveal hidden fruits. Digging sticks probe the soil, loosening roots before they are pulled free. Every plant has a place, a time, a story. To gather is to remember. Some plants are food, others are medicine. The bitter leaves of certain herbs ease pain when chewed. The bark of a willow, stripped and steeped in water, soothes fever. Poultices made of mashed roots draw out infection. Knowledge of these cures is guarded closely, passed from elder to youth with careful instruction. A mistake in medicine is as dangerous as a mistake in food. There are plants for other uses, too. Fibers from long grasses or reeds can be twisted into cord, woven into nets, or braided into mats. Certain resins make strong glue, binding stone to wood. Hollow stems can carry water or be used as straws to blow air onto coals. Gathering provides not only sustenance but the raw materials of daily life. In the rhythm of the band, hunting may be dramatic, but gathering is constant. Women often lead, their experience shaping the choices of where to walk, what to pick, when to return. Children join them, learning as they go, their baskets small but their curiosity large. Even older hunters take part, their sharp eyes useful for spotting hidden roots or high fruit. Gathering is communal, a slow weaving of hands and time. Danger is never absent, even here. A rustle in the underbrush may signal a snake. A distant growl may warn of a predator. Sharp thorns tear at skin, insect stings. Hidden roots trip careless feet. But compared to the hunt, gathering feels calm, steady, dependable. The risks are quieter, the rewards surer. When baskets are full, the return to the cave is marked with satisfaction. Children carry what they can, proud of their contributions. Adults bring the heavier loads, their shoulders bent under weight. Back at the fire, the harvest is sorted. Berries are eaten fresh, their juice staining lips. Roots are placed by the flames, roasted until sweet. Leaves are hung to dry in bundles overhead. Gathered food is not only for survival, but for memory. The taste of a certain berry recalls the warmth of summer. The smell of roasting roots signals autumn's approach. A pouch of dried fruit shared in the depths of winter is more than nourishment. It is a reminder of seasons past, of cycles that always returns. The importance of plants is felt in the body itself. They provide fiber to keep the stomach strong, vitamins that keep illness at bay. Variety that meat alone cannot give. They are steady where the hunt is uncertain. If animals vanish, the band can still survive on roots, berries and nuts. Gathering is the balance that steadies life. At night, when the day's harvest is done, you taste the fruits of patient labor. A stew of meat and roots bubbles in a skin pot, flavored with wild herbs. Roasted nuts crackle between teeth, their oils rich and satisfying. Children lick berry juice from their fingers, laughing. Around the fire, the smell of earth and smoke mingles, the day's work turned into warmth and strength. Lying down to rest, you think of the world beyond the cave, the endless forest filled with hidden gifts. The roots sleeping under soil, the berries ripening in silence, the leaves drinking sunlight waiting to be plucked. Hunting may bring glory, but gathering brings certainties. And certainty, in this harsh world, is as precious as fire. Tomorrow, you will walk the forest paths again, eyes sharp, hands ready. Baskets light and empty at the start. By evening, they will be full, and once more, the cave will smell of plants turned into life. The hunt is the heartbeat of Paleolithic life. Without it, there is no meat, no hides for clothing, no bones for tools. Hunting is risk and reward, danger and triumph. It demands strength, patience and cooperation. For many in the band, it is the moment when survival feels sharpest, when the edge between life and death is visible in every breath. The day of a hunt begins before dawn. The fire in the cave still glows faintly, but hunters are already stirring, tightening sinew bindings on spears, checking stone points for sharpness. Voices are low, purposeful. There is no need for chatter. Each knows their role. The air smells of smoke, leather, and anticipation. Before leaving, the hunters mark themselves. Ash or ochre smeared on skin, a gesture both practical and spiritual. The darkened skin hides the shine of sweat, breaks the outline of the body in tall grasses. But it is also ritual, a way of asking for success, for safety, for the spirit of the animal to give itself willingly. The group sets out into the cool morning, breath rising in faint clouds. Spears rest on shoulders, bows carried by a few who have mastered their use, stone, tipped arrows in bundles at their sides. Dogs, if the band has them, pad quietly at their feet, ears sharp, noses twitching. The land itself guides the hunt. Tracks in soft soil tell of deer that passed in the night. Broken branches, fresh scats. The faint musk of animals carried on the wind. These are the signs that trained eyes read like words. To track is to listen to the earth, to follow its quiet language. Not every hunt is the same. Small game, hares, birds, fish can be caught with traps, nets, or quick strikes. But the great hunts, the ones that feed the entire band, are for larger animals, deer, elk, bison, sometimes even mammoths. These require not one hunter but many, each moving in rhythm, each trusting the others. Today the tracks lead toward an open glades. The hunters slow, silent as shadow. Ahead a herd of deer grazes, their heads bent low, ears twitching at the faintest sound. The hunters crouch, hearts pounding. The moment stretches long, then it begins. A shout, a whistle, the sudden rush of bodies through brush. The deer startle, leaps, scatter. But the hunters drive them toward a narrow pass, spears poised. One deer stumbles, slowed by uneven ground. A spear flies, striking deep. Another follows, piercing its flank. The animal cries out, struggles, then collapses. The hunt is swift, but the danger is real. A panicked animal can gore, trample, or break bones. Hunters approach carefully, ending its suffering with a final strike. When the deer lies still, silence returns. Breathless, the hunters gather. There is no cheer, no loud triumph. Instead, there is respect. Some touch the animal's body, murmuring thanks. Others smear a hand with blood and press it to their chest or face, a sign of connections, of gratitude. The kill is not taken lightly. Life is exchanged for life. The work begins immediately. Knives of flint and obsidian flash in the sun, opening hide, separating muscle from bone. The carcass is divided with practiced efficiency. Meat is cut into strips, organs removed, hide pulled away. Nothing is wasted. Bones will become tools. Sinew will bind points to shafts. The stomach may be cleaned and used to carry water. Even hooves and horns find use, shaped into ornaments or tools. The load is heavy. Each hunter carries what they can, hides bundled, meat wrapped in skin or slung over shoulders. The journey back to the cave is slow, careful. Along the way, smaller animals may still be trapped or speared, adding to the bounty. But the focus is on returning safely with the prize. Back at the cave, the band gathers to meet them. Children's eyes widen at the sight of meat. Elders nod with quiet approval. The kill is celebrated not with noise but with relief. Hunger is held at bay. Strength will return. The fire is stoked high, stones heated. The air soon filled with the rich scent of roasting flesh. The meal that night is more than nourishment. It is community, shared triumphs. Fat sizzles, juices drip, smoke curls into the cave. Meat is portioned fairly, though hunters are honored with the choicest cuts. Everyone eats, from youngest to oldest, each mouthful carrying the memory of risk, of effort, of unity. Not every hunt ends this way. Sometimes the prey escapes, leaving hunters wary, hungry, empty-handed. Sometimes wounds are carried back instead of meat. A twisted ankle, a broken arm, a gash from a startled boar. These are reminders that hunt is never guaranteed. Failure means days of hunger, sometimes weeks of hardship, but always the hunters return to try again. Beyond the practical, the hunt shapes the spirit of the band. It teaches cooperation. No one person can bring down a deer alone. It demands patience. Tracking can take hours, even days. It instills respect for the animals, for the land, for the balance between hunger and plenty. The hunt also inspires story. Around the fires, the details are retold: the moment the deer stumbled, the spear that struck true, the cry that echoed through the trees. Children listen wide-eyed, learning not only what happened, but how it is remembered. In stories, the hunt becomes more than survival. It becomes meaning, memory, culture. Tonight, after the feast, you sit back, belly warm, the smell of roasted meat still clinging to the air. Your hands ache from carrying heavy loads, your shoulders stiff from strain. But you feel alive, sharpened by the memory of the chase. The fire crackles, shadows flicker, voices murmur. Beyond the cave mouth, the forest waits, filled with movement unseen. Tomorrow, the cycle will begin again. The hunt is never over. It is as endless as hunger, as constant as fire. It is what ties your band together, what tests your strength, what keeps life moving forward. In the Paleolithic world, to hunt is to live. Long before paper or ink, before books or libraries, before even writing itself, humans still found ways to make their inner worlds visible. Expression is as old as survival. If the hunt feeds the body, art feeds the spirit. In the Paleolithic worlds, creativity is not separate from life, it is woven into it, part ritual, part memory, part play. The cave itself is the first canvas. Stone walls, smoothed in places by time and touch, become surfaces for painting. With ochre crushed to powder, charcoal from the fires, and white chalk, like minerals gathered from riverbeds, colours are made. Mixed with animal fat or saliva, they cling to rock in vivid strokes. At night, when the fire burns steady, small groups slip deeper into the cave. Torches made of resinous wood cast flickering lights, shadows dancing on the walls. Here, away from the main chamber, the walls come alive with images. Deer leap across stone curves. Bison stand broad and heavy, mammoths stretch their tusks. Some figures are drawn in careful details, muscles and movement captured with practiced hands. Others are more abstract lines, dots, spirals, the meaning known only to those who made them. Painting is never rushed. Each stroke is deliberate. Fingers dip into pigments, press against stone. Sometimes brushes are fashioned from chewed twigs or tufts of animal hair bound to sticks. Sometimes paint is blown through hollow bones, leaving soft clouds of color, outlines of hands, ghostly imprints of presence. Hands on the wall, open palms pressed in ochre or charcoal, are among the most haunting marks, each one a declaration I was here. Generations later, they remain a bridge across time, a reminder that even in the struggle for food and fire, humans sought to leave traces of themselves beyond survival. Art is not limited to walls. Bones carved with lines and curves, antler etched with patterns, shells strung into necklaces, all carry beauty as well as function. A decorated tool is still a tool, but it is also a story, a charm, a mark of belonging. Clothing, too, carries expression, beads sewn into hides, fringes cut into leather, ochre rubbed into fur. Adornment distinguishes individuals, families, even roles within the band. For children, art begins as play. Fingers smeared with soot from the fire draw on stone floors. They copy the shapes they see older hands making, experimenting with lines and circles. In these playful marks, learning happens, creativity nurtured like any other skills. But art also holds power. To paint a deer is not only to remember it, but to call it, to honor it, to weave the hunt into the spiritual fabric of life. Some believe that the act of painting helps ensure success, that the spirits of the animals must be respected if the band is to thrive. In this way, art and ritual are inseparable. Songs and rhythm join the painted walls. Voices echo in the cave, rising and falling, words simple but powerful. Sometimes they are chants, repeated phrases tied to ritual. Sometimes they are songs of the hunt, stories told in melodies. Stone tools tapped against each other create percussion. Bones struck on hollow logs make drums. The cave amplifies sounds, turning small voices into a chorus. Music fills the dark, lifting spirits, binding people together. Dance, too, emerges in the firelights. Bodies move in patterns that mimic animals, the leap of deer, the lunge of bison. Movements tell stories, rehearsing hunts, celebrating survivals. Children watch, then imitate, learning rhythm through play. The circle around the fire becomes both stage and classroom. Art also comforts. On nights when the cold presses in, when the band mourns a loss, or when hunger lingers too long, the act of painting, singing, or carving soothes. It reminds people that life is not only struggle but also beauty. Even when food is scarce, time is carved out for art. It's because art is what makes life more than survival. Not all expression is grand. Some is quiet, personal. A hunter scratches a pattern onto a spear shaft, marking it as his. A mother strings beads from snail shells to give her child. A youth carves a small figure from bone, carrying it as a charm. These small acts carry as much meaning as the great paintings in the caves. The barn treats art with reverence. Certain chambers of the cave are reserved only for painting, quiet spaces lit by flickering torches. Not everyone enters. Some say only those with skill or calling should paint. Others believe everyone has the right to leave their marks. Either way, the spaces grow layer by layer, generation by generation, until walls become archives of human spirits. The stories behind the images travel as oral traditions. Around the fire, elders explain the meaning of a painted herd or a carved figure. Children learn not only how to recognize the images but also why they matter. The paintings are not decoration. They are memory, teachings, connection to the unseen world. Tonight, after the day's gathering and hunting, the band gathers near the fire. The meal is done, bellies warmed. A torch is lit, and a few people carry it deeper into the cave. You follow, curiosity pulling you along. The chamber opens into shadows, walls alive with painted forms. Someone begins to sing, a low chant, steady and grounding. Another taps a rhythm with a stone. The sounds echoes, filling the chamber. You sit against the wall, watching as a woman dips her fingers into ochre. She presses her hand to the stones, leaving behind a crimson mark. Others join her, each adding their own, until the wall is dotted with handprints, each unique, each the size and shape of a living person who has stood here. In that moment, the cave feels more than stone. It feels alive, layered with voices, colors, rhythms, and hands. You sense what your people already know: survival is not only about food and fires. It is also about meaning. To create, to sing, to dance, to paint. These are acts that declare humanity, that carve beauty into the harshness of life. As the torches burn low, the group returns to the main chamber. The fire is still glowing, its warmth waiting. You lie down on your grass mat, the memory of painted walls vivid in your minds. The images linger behind your eyelids as you drift towards sleep. Tomorrow will bring the same struggles, the same search for food and fires. But tonight, you rest knowing that life is more than survival. It is also expression, beauty, and the marks you leave behind. In the Paleolithic world, family is not simply a matter of blood. Kinship is survival. To live alone is to die. To live in a band is to endure. Every person, from the youngest child to the eldest elder, belongs to the group in ways both practical and deeply emotional. Together, they form a net of protection, memory, and continuity that stretches across generations. A typical band numbers between 20 and 30 people. Within this small circle, everyone has a role. Families are interwoven: mates, children, parents, siblings, cousins, and sometimes outsiders who have been welcomed in. There is no sharp division between my children and your children. Instead, the group raises them together, each adult responsible in some way for teaching, feeding, and protecting the young. Children are the band's greatest treasure, fragile but essential. Their survival is never guaranteed, so care is constant. Mothers nurse babies while gathering plants, while fathers carry toddlers on shoulders during long treks. Older siblings often mind younger ones, guiding small hands, correcting mistakes with patience born from shared experience. Childhood is short by the age of 7 or 8. Children are already contributing, learning to dig roots, collect firewood, or fetch water. But even in such a harsh world, love is not absent. You can hear it in the lullabies sung by the fire, see it in the way a father braids grass into a toy for his daughter, or in the way an elder tells a story slowly, letting children lean against their side. Affection is not luxuriously displayed, yet it threads through daily life like a hidden root system, unseen but vital. Partnerships between mates are central to kinships. These unions are practical, forged by cooperation, but they also carry tenderness. A man and woman share the burden of raising children, of gathering food, of facing danger. Their bond is tested daily but strengthened by necessity. Sometimes these bonds last a lifetime. Other times they shift, with new unions forming as lives change. The structure is flexible, shaped more by survival than by rigid rules. Elders hold a special place. Though their strength may fade, their value only deepens. They carry memory, knowledge of seasons, of migrations, of which plants heal and which poison. Their stories preserve the past, teaching children who they are and where they came from. Around the fires, their voices are slow but sure, weaving lessons into tales of hunts and travels long ago. To lose an elder is to lose a library, a well of memory. Death, when it comes, is faced as a group. The body of the departed is treated with care, sometimes buried, sometimes left in a chosen place. Offerings may be placed with them: tools, beads, a piece of ochre, signs of respect, tokens for the journey beyond. The band mourns together, voices low, fire burning steady, silence heavy. Yet life must continue. Children must be fed, fire kept alive. Grief is communal, but so is resilience. Family life is shaped by daily rhythms. Mornings begin with fire and food, children learning beside their parents. Afternoons see the group scattered into hunters and gatherers, each task shared and divided. Evenings bring everyone together again, food cooked, stories told, small disputes settled, laughter shared. The cave becomes a hive of connection, every corner filled with voices, footsteps, and the warmth of bodies. Disputes do arise. Resources are scarce, tempers flare. Who eats first? Who decides where to move next? Yet the band knows that conflict can fracture survivals. Disputes are eased with compromise, with words from elders, with time. Sometimes individuals leave, joining another group, carrying their skills with them. The network of kinship extends beyond one band. Families mingle through travel, through unions, through exchanges of goods and stories. Kinship also shapes identity. To be part of the band is to belong to something larger than yourself. It is protection, yes, but also meaning. A child grows not as a lone individual, but as part of a web of voices, hands, and hearts. They know who they are because they know who they are connected to. In the firelight, the bond of kinship is most visible. After a long day, when the work is done, families cluster close, children drowsy, elders leaning on one another, mates sharing quiet conversations. The circle around the fire is both literal and symbolic, a ring of safety, of continuity, of belonging. For you, kinship is not an abstract concept. It is the faces around you, the warmth of your child's small hand in yours, the weight of responsibility you feel for the group's survival. It is the comfort of knowing that if you falter, others will step in. If you succeed, the whole band thrives. This shared existence does not erase individuality, but it does reshape it. In the Paleolithic world, you are never only you. You are also son or daughter, sibling or parent, hunter or gatherer, teacher or learner, part of a living web. That web gives meaning to the struggle of survival, turning harsh days into shared days, losses into shared mournings, triumphs into shared celebration. Tonight, after the fire has burned low, you settle beside your family cluster. Your mate lies close, children curled between you. Across the fire, cousins and siblings sleep, their breaths steady. Elders shift on their mats, murmuring in dreams. You close your eyes, warmed not only by hides and embers, but by the presence of these many lives woven together. In the darkness of the caves, you feel the truth of kinship. Alone you are fragile. Together you are strong. And in that strength lies the quiet heartbeat of Paleolithic life. Family not just as blood, but as survival, as memory, as love. Life in the Paleolithic is precarious. Every step on uneven ground risks a twisted ankle. Every hunt risks cuts, bruises, or worse. Illness comes quietly, in the form of fever, stomach pains, or weakness that lingers. In a world without modern tools or hospitals, health and medicine are grounded in knowledge carried by memory, observation, and tradition. The human body is both resilient and fragile. Cuts and scrapes from stone tools or thorny plants are common. Larger wounds from hunting accidents or animal encounters can be deadly. Infection is a constant danger. Without knowledge of microbes, people understand only that some wounds fester, while others heal. To prevent the worst, they rely on plants, fire, and ritual. Herbal knowledge is one of the band's most valuable assets. Over generations, people observe which plants soothe and which harm. Willow bark is chewed to ease pain and fever. Certain leaves are crushed into poultices to draw out infection. Charcoal from the fire, ground fines, is sometimes mixed with water to calm stomach sickness. Strong-smelling herbs are burned to drive away unseen forces thought to cause illness. This knowledge is not held by everyone equally. Certain members of the band, often elders, sometimes women who assist with births, become keepers of remedies. They know which roots to dig, which barks to scrape, how long to boil or dry a plant before it is safe to use. Their role blends healer and guide, respected as much for wisdom as for practical skill. Fire itself is medicine. Wounds are sometimes cauterized, though painfully, to stop bleeding. Heated stones are pressed near injuries to soothe the pain or ease stiffness. Smoke is used to clean tools and drive insects away from bedding. The hearth is more than warmth and cooking. It is a protective force, keeping disease at bay. Injuries are treated with the materials at hand. Splints of wood bind broken bones, secured with strips of hides. Clay is packed around sprains to immobilize joints. Cuts are washed with water from streams, then covered with moss or honey to help healings. Simple though these methods seem, they can mean the difference between recovery and death. Illness is harder to confront. A child with fever is kept warm by the fire, wrapped in hides, given herbs to drink. The band stays close, offering care, though often helpless against the unknown. Some fevers break, others do not. The line between healing and loss is thin. When someone recovers, it feels like a victory for the whole group. Birth is one of the most dangerous moments of all. Women give birth with the help of experienced hands, usually older women who know how to guide labor. They soothe with words, massage aching muscles, encourage movement and breath. Sometimes the birth is quick and successful. Sometimes it ends in sorrow. Every safe arrival of a new life is celebrated as a triumph over danger. Death, when it comes, teaches as much as life. Elders recall past losses, foods that poisoned, plants that healed, signs that a wound was too deep. Each death leaves behind knowledge for those who remain. Even in grief, there is learning, and that learning may save lives in the future. Spiritual beliefs are woven into medicine. Illness is often seen as a struggle between the body and unseen forces. Rituals accompany healings. Chants whispered over a fevered child, beads tied to a wrist for protection, ochre painted on skin to ward off harms. Healing is not only physical but also symbolic, binding together body and spirit. Mental health, though unnamed, is recognized in its own way. Trauma from loss, fear after a dangerous hunt, sorrow after death, all are met with the support of the band. Stories are told, songs sung, dances performed to lift spirits. The collective itself is the treatment, a reminder that no one suffers entirely alone. Children learn early to recognize healing plants and practices. They watch elders chew certain barks, crush herbs, or wash wounds. By imitating, they absorb knowledge that will one day make them caretakers themselves. Medicine is not written but lived, passed hand to hand, generation to generation. Tonight a child coughs by the fire. His mother cradles him, rocking gently. An elder approaches, carrying a small pouch of dried herbs. She mixes them into hot water, the steam rising fragrant and sharp. The child drinks, face twisting at the bitterness. A soft chant is murmured, words passed down for countless seasons. The band watches quietly, the firelight reflecting hope in their eyes. The night deepens. The child's coughing eases, and the group relaxes. Whether the herbs or the chant healed him does not matter. What matters is that the band has done all it can, through knowledge, through care, through the rituals that weave meaning into uncertainty. In this world, health is fragile, but care is constant. Medicine is not a science divided from life, but part of the daily rhythm in the plants gathered, the fires tended, the stories told. Healing is not perfect, but it is powerful. It reminds the band that even against pain, weakness, and death, humans have always sought to resist, to endure, and to protect one another. As you settle into your mat, you feel the truth of it. The body is vulnerable, but knowledge and kinship strengthen it. You are held not only by the hides that cover you, but by the web of care that surrounds you. In health or in sickness, in life or in death, the band does not let go. To live in the Paleolithic world is to live with mystery. Lightning strikes without warning, rivers rise and fall, animals vanish and return. The sun disappears each night only to rise again. Without science or written explanation, meaning is sought in patterns, symbols, and stories. Belief and ritual are not separate from daily life. They are woven into every hunt, every fire, every birth and death. The world is alive with unseen forces. The wind that bends the grass, the thunder that splits the skies, the strange glow of stars overhead, all are thought to carry spirit. Animals, too, are more than flesh. The bison, heavy and strong, has power beyond its meat. The deer, swift and graceful, teaches movement. Even small creatures, birds, insects, fish, are respected for their roles. To take their lives for food demands gratitude. This gratitude is expressed in ritual. After a hunt, the band gathers. The animal's body is honored, sometimes touched in silence, sometimes sprinkled with ochre, sometimes spoken to as if it can still hear. Parts of the animal may be set aside, bones, horns, or hides, as offerings, tokens of respect to the unseen world. Nothing is wasted, but nothing is taken lightly either. Fire itself is sacred. It is warmth, protection, and transformation. Around it, rituals unfold. Food is cooked, but so too are chants sung, stories told, and visions sought. The flame is seen as a living thing, hungry for fuel, capable of both nurturing and destroying. To let the fire die is more than inconvenience. It is a spiritual failure. Caves, deep and echoing, are among the most powerful spaces of ritual. Their dark recesses become thresholds between the ordinary and the sacred. Paintings of animals, handprints on stone, dots and spirals all serve as more than decoration. They are prayers, invocations, bridges between people and the spirits that shape their world. When the torchlight flickers, the painted bison seem to move, and belief becomes tangible. Rituals accompany life's great moments. Birth is surrounded by protective chants and offerings, meant to ease the mother's pain and safeguard the child's arrival. Death is marked by mourning songs, burials with beads, tools, or ochre sprinkled over the body. These acts do not end grief, but they shape it, giving structure to what would otherwise be overwhelming. Seasonal changes also call for ritual. The return of migrating herds, the ripening of berries, the first frost, all are occasions to honor the forces that govern survival. Songs call the animals back, dances mimic the movements of prey, fires are lit to mark the turning of time. In this way, ritual aligns the band with the rhythm of the earth, giving meaning to the cycles that rule their lives. Dreams hold special weight. When someone dreams of an animal, it may be seen as a message, a sign of where to hunt, or a warning of danger. Dreams are shared around the fire, interpreted by elders, woven into the decision-making of the band. The dream world is not separate from waking life. It is another layer of reality, just as real and powerful. Certain individuals emerge as guides of rituals. They are not rulers, but mediators between the band and the unseen world. Sometimes they are elders with deep knowledge of plants and chants. Sometimes they are younger, chosen because of vivid dreams or strange insights. These figures carry respect and mysteries. When illness strikes, or when a hunt is uncertain, their words and actions are sought. They may paint their bodies with ochre, wear feathers or beads, or enter trances brought on by rhythmic drumming or chanting. Yet belief is not confined to specialists. Everyone participates. Children learn chants by repeating after their elders. Hunters sing before setting out. Mothers whisper protective words over sleeping infants. Ritual belongs to the band as a whole, not to a few. It is a collective weaving of meaning, born from shared need. Ritual also strengthens bonds. To sing together, to dance in rhythms, to paint the walls side by side, these acts unify the groups. They remind each person that survival depends not only on food and fire, but also on shared meaning. In a dangerous world, belief gives courage, ritual gives structure to fear. Tonight, the band prepares for a hunt. As the sun sets, torches are lit. Around the fire, chants begin. Low, steady, pulsing like a heartbeat. Hunters paint their arms with ochre and charcoal, tracing lines that mimic animal forms. Children watch wide-eyed, absorbing the seriousness of the moment. A figure rises, shaking a rattle of bone and stones. The the sound sharp in the firelit night. He moves in a slow circle, calling on the spirits of the animals, asking for success, for balance, for respect. When the chants ends, silence follows, heavy and sacred. The fire cracks softly, then laughter returns. Children are tucked into hides, and the band drifts toward rest. Yet the ritual lingers, shaping tomorrow's hunt before it even begins. As you lie down, staring into the shadows of the cave, you feel the weight of unseen forces pressing close. The fire flickers, casting shapes that could be spirits, animals, or dreams. You breathe deeply, comforted not only by warmth but by the sense that your band does not face the world alone. The rituals, the chants, the paintings, they are threads binding you to the earth, the animals, and each other. In the Paleolithic worlds, belief and ritual are not separate corners of life. They are the fabric itself, woven into every action, every story, every memory. They turn mystery into meaning, fear into courage, survival into something more, a shared journey between the visible and the unseen. The Paleolithic world is beautiful, but it is never safe. Danger surrounds the band, woven into the land, the animals, the weather, and sometimes even other people. To live here is to accept risk as a constant companion, to be ready for it with vigilance, skill, and unity. The most immediate threats come from nature itself. Predators share the same lands, and they are stronger, faster, and hungrier than a single human. Lions prowl the plains, wolves stalk in packs, bears wander forests, massive and unpredictable. A careless step, a moment of inattention, and the hunter can become the hunted. Even with fire and spears, the band is cautious. They move together, watch each other's backs, and carry torches when traveling at night. The hunt itself carries peril. Spears miss their marks, stones slip, and wounded animals turn violent. A bison's charge can crush bones, a boar's tusks can rip flesh. Even small creatures defend themselves with claws, bites, and poison. A successful hunt feeds the band, but every hunt risks injury or deaths. That risk is never forgotten. It is carried into the chants, the paintings, the rituals meant to balance courage with caution. Nature also threatens through the elements. Storms sweep across plains with pounding rain, lightning striking without warning. Rivers swell, flooding valleys. Snow falls heavy, cutting off food and chilling bodies to the bone. Shelter is not always enough. Sometimes whole groups must move quickly to escape disaster. Survival is a dance with weather, never entirely predictable, always demanding respect. Yet danger is not only external. Illness can strike without warning, stealing strength and spreading quietly. A wound that seems small may turn deadly in days. Hunger gnaws at the body when food runs short, draining energy, breeding tension within the band. These invisible threats are as feared as predators, because they creep in silently. It's impossible to fight with spears or fire. Conflict with other bands adds another layer of uncertainty. While groups often meet peacefully, sharing stories, exchanging goods, even forming bonds, tension can arise when resources are scarce. Two bands may claim the same hunting ground or compete for the same water source. When this happens, conflict can flare. These encounters are cautious, often beginning with shouts from a distance, displays of strength, or negotiations led by elders. Sometimes peace is made, food exchanged, territory shared, disputes resolved with compromise. But sometimes peace fails. Stones are thrown, spears raised, voices turn to cries of anger. Violence between bands is rare but unforgettable. The scars it leaves, on bodies, on memory, linger long after the fight is done. Within the band itself, conflict simmers at times. Disputes over food, over mates, over decisions of where to travel or when to hunt can spark anger. But survival demands unity, and disagreements are usually softened by elders or settled through compromise. If tension grows too strong, individuals may leave, joining another band or setting off in search of new alliances. The bond of kinship bends before it breaks. Children are raised to understand danger from the beginning. They are taught to recognize tracks of predators, to stay close to the groups, to move silently when needed. Games prepare them for conflict, throwing stones at targets, mimicking hunts, practicing shouts to scare away animals. By the time they are old enough to join hunts, danger is no longer abstract, it is a familiar teacher. Rituals also play a role in managing fear. Before a hunt, chants strengthen courage. After conflict, songs of mourning or healing ease wounds, physical and emotional alike. Belief helps make sense of danger, turning it from random chaos into part of a larger story, something that can be faced with meaning as well as skill. Tonight, danger comes close. The fire has burned low, and the night is quiet except for the wind. Suddenly, a low growl echoes from the edge of the dark. The band stiffens. Torches are lifted, spears grasped. Shadows shift at the edge of the firelight, eyes glowing, watching. Wolves. The group gathers quickly, forming a tight circle. Spears are pointed outward, firebrands wave to keep the animals at bay. Children are pulled close, tucked behind adults. The growling grows louder, closer. A stone is thrown, clattering in the dark. The wolves hesitate, snarling, before finally slipping back into the night. The band exhales, tension easing, but sleep will come slowly after such a reminder. This is life in the Paleolithic. Danger never vanishes. It waits at the edges of the firelight, in the rustle of grass, in the storm clouds building on the horizon. Yet the band endures because they face it together. Spears are stronger in many hands. Fear lessened when shared, courage magnified in the circle of kinship. As you lie down again, the memory of glowing eyes lingers. You understand that danger is not an enemy to be defeated once and for all, but a condition of existence. Conflict, fear, and risk will always remain, but so will fire, kinship, and the will to survive. In this balance between danger and unity lies the story of Paleolithic life, fragile, uncertain, yet enduring. Every sunrise after such nights feels like a victory, proof that even in a world of predators, storms, hunger, and conflict, humanity endures, not alone but together. In the Paleolithic world, movement is life. The land is both home and challenge, and the band cannot remain in one place forever. Seasons shift, animals migrate, water ebbs and swells, and resources depletes. Survival demands mobility, careful planning, and a deep understanding of the terrain. Every journey is a lesson in endurance, observations, and cooperation. The decision to move is never taken lightly. Elders consult with hunters and gatherers, weighing the evidence, tracks of prey animals, availability of edible plants, water sources, signs of predators or rival bands. The band studies the land as a living entity, learning its rhythms, its hidden dangers, its opportunities. Movement is strategic, guided by knowledge passed down through generations. Packing for a migration is meticulous. Every item must serve a purpose. Hides are rolled and tied, carrying mats for sleeping stacked neatly. Tools are sharpened, spears reinforced, stone knives checked for chips. Containers made of wood or bladder are filled with water, roots, or preserved food. Nothing is wasted, nothing left behind lightly. Even small items like beads, charms, or fire starting materials are secured, for they carry meaning as well as utility. Children walk alongside adults, learning the route and observing how the elders judge the terrain. Toddlers may ride on backs, strapped securely with leather thongs. Older children carry light loads, practicing the skills they will need in the future. Migration is education as much as necessity, a living classroom where every step teaches survival. The path itself is alive. Birds call overhead, insects buzz, and the distant rustle of larger animals reminds everyone that they share this space. Each footprint matters. Hunters watch for tracks, deer, boar, or predators, and mark them silently. Gatherers note plant growth, recognizing edible roots, ripening berries, and potential dangers. The landscape is read as text, each detail meaningful. Travel is often slower than it seems. Even when terrain is open, the band moves deliberately, balancing speed with caution. Stones can twist ankles, hidden holes can break a leg, sudden rivers or mud patches can trap a foot. The movement is rhythmic, deliberate, almost meditative. The sun rises, shadows shift, and the band progresses like a living river, flowing through the forest, across meadows, and along streams. Some migrations are short, seasonal moves to follow prey or reach richer forests. Others are longer, spanning weeks or even months. These journeys are marked by campsites, temporary shelters arranged near water, protected by terrain, often hidden from potential threats. Here, the band rests, tends fires, repairs tools, and gathers what they can. These brief halts are crucial, allowing the group to regain strength and reassess the land. Hunting during migration is opportunistic. Deer crossing the path, a fox scurrying along a riverbank, a flock of birds disturbed in the trees. Any of these can provide food, though the effort is balanced against the need to keep moving. Gathering is equally flexible. Edible plants, roots, nuts, and berries are collected as the band passes through territories, knowledge of which is crucial for survival. The journey is never free of danger. Predators watch from shadows. Sudden weather changes test endurance. Illness can strike during the trek, slowing progress and threatening lives. Tensions can flare when fatigue grows or hunger strikes, requiring the patience of elders and the cooperation of the bands. Every step is a lesson in vigilance and community. Night brings its own challenges. Campsites are chosen with care, often in natural depressions, behind rock outcroppings or in the shelter of trees. Fires are built to keep warmth and protection. Children and elders sleep close to the flame, while hunters stand watch, listening for movement in the dark. Sleep is deep yet alert, resting the body but never entirely letting down guard. Migration also carries emotional weight. Leaving familiar territory means leaving behind traces of life, painted walls in caves, well-worn paths, hunting grounds with memories of past successes. Yet movement is also promised new lands, fresh water, untouched hunting grounds, and plants yet unharvested. Change is both loss and opportunity. Stories are shared along the way. Elders recount past migrations, lessons learned, successes and failures. These narratives guide present decisions, teaching children about routes, pitfalls, and the rhythms of the land. Songs may accompany the march, steadying steps, calming fear, celebrating unity. Humor emerges to lighten heavy days, a reminder that joy is as necessary as survival. As the sun sets on a long day's travel, the band approaches a new campsite. The air smells different, fresh water nearby, the scent of pine and moss, the faint rustle of small animals in the undergrowth. Hides are unrolled, fires built, water fetched. Tools are checked, food portions divided carefully, children guided through evening routines. The ritual of settling into a new space mirrors the rhythm of life itself: preparation, care, connection. You pause at the edge of the camps, looking back along the path. Every footprint, every bent twig, every disturbed leaf is part of your passage through the lands. You feel the weight of both the past and the present, aware that this journey connects generations, those who walked before you and those who will follow. Migration is not only survival, it is continuity. Tonight, the band rests beneath stars undimmed by fire or city. The sky is vast, constellations mirrored in the fire's flickers. You listen to the wind through branches, the soft murmur of water, the occasional call of an owl. In the quiet, you feel the truth of your journey. Every step taken together strengthens the band. Every movement across the land teaches. Every pause and rest renews. In migration, as in life, the Paleolithic people learn patience, resilience, and interdependence. The path is both challenge and lesson, danger and opportunity, fleeting yet eternal. To travel is to live fully, aware of the fragility of existence, yet embracing the richness of every moment. In the Paleolithic world, survival depends on ingenuity. Every tool, every method, every small improvement in daily life carries weight. Innovation is not optional, it is necessity. The people of this time are not merely passive inhabitants of the land. They are active creators, shaping their world with stone, wood, bones, and fire. Stone tools are the foundation. Knives, scrapers, and spear points are carefully crafted from flint, chert, and obsidians. The process is precise. Each strike of a hammerstone removes a flake at just the right angle. producing an edge sharper than most modern blades. Too hard a strike and the stone shatters, too soft and nothing happens. Each tool requires patience, skill, and experience. A well-crafted knife can last for months or even years, saving countless hours and countless lives. Wood is equally important. Spears, digging sticks, and frames for shelters are carved and shaped with care. Branches are selected not at random, but for strength, flexibility, and weight. Tools abound with sinew or plant fibers, creating implements that combine multiple materials for maximum efficiency. Even simple items like carrying bags or containers are products of thoughtful design, using leather, bark, and cordage. Innovation also arises in fire making. Fire is life, but creating it from scratch requires skill. Stones struck together, careful attention to tinder, and controlled airflow all contribute to success. The techniques evolve over generations, passed down through practice and observation. Each successful fire is not merely warmth, it is a victory over cold, darkness, and vulnerabilities. Clothing and shelter are areas of constant improvement. Animal hides are softened through scraping, soaking, and the application of fats, creating garments that insulate against cold and resist water. Seams are stitched with bone needles and durable threads made from plant fibers. Leather boots are stuffed with grass for warmth, and cloaks are carefully draped and tied to allow movement while retaining heat. Even these simple innovations have profound effects on survival, making the harsh world more manageable. Tools also extend human senses and capabilities. Hunting is made possible by spears, atlals, and bows in later periods. Digging sticks and spades allow access to underground roots and tubers that might otherwise be unreachable. Stone scrapers process hides into clothing, bags, and blankets. Tools are extensions of the body, enhancing reach, precision, and effectiveness. Innovation is social as well as technical. Knowledge of tool making is shared, not hoarded. A young hunter watches elders fashion spear points, imitating each motion until it becomes instinct. A gatherer learns from an older sibling how to select the right plant at the right times. Skills are honed collaboratively through observation, correction, and repetitions. This collective innovation ensures the survival of the band as a whole. Even leisure is intertwined with ingenuities. Toys for children are carved from wood or bone, often mirroring the tools of adults, teaching skills through play. Games involve problem-solving, coordination, and observation, preparing young people for the demands of adult life. Creativity and invention are part of every experience, making learning both practical and engaging. Sometimes innovation emerges from necessity in the moment. A sudden rainstorm might inspire the use of large leaves as temporary shelters. A broken spear point can be repaired by improvising with sinew and small stones. Accidents and challenges spark solutions, and those solutions, if effective, become part of the band's collective knowledge. The ability to adapt, to create something new from available resources, is a key survival skill. Even artistic expression is a form of innovation. Cave paintings, carved figurines, and personal adornments require planning, precision, and experimentation. Pigments are ground, tools crafted, and techniques refined. These creations are not purely decorative. They communicate, they record, they connect generations. The act of creating, even when not strictly necessary for survival, strengthens cognition, planning, and dexterity, all of which have practical benefits in daily life. The process of innovation is continuous. Nothing is ever truly finished, because the world keeps changing. New challenges, weather, predators, migration, scarcity, demand new solutions. Elders and adults constantly assess methods and tools, experimenting with small variations to improve effectiveness. Even minor improvements, like a sharper knife edge, a sturdier carrying strap, or a more efficient fire-building technique, can save lives. At night, the band gathers by the fire, reviewing tools and techniques. A hunter demonstrates a newly fashioned spear tips. A gatherer explains a better way to carry roots without bruising them. Children watch intently, practicing small motions with sticks and stones. Knowledge flows through the group like fire itself, warm, vital, and sustaining. Innovation is not a solitary act. It is woven into the rhythm of community life. You, holding a newly sharpened knife, feel a quiet satisfaction. The edge glints in the firelight, precise and clean. This simple tool, the product of careful thought and patient labor, is more than stone. It is security, power, and connection. It represents the skill of those who taught you, the knowledge of generations, and the ability to survive and thrive. In the Paleolithic world, innovation is survival. Every tool, every method, every small improvement reflects the adaptability of humans, their creativity and their determination. It turns a dangerous, uncertain world into one that can be navigated, mastered, and shared. And as the fire burns low tonight, you rest with the knowledge that your skills, your hands, and your mind are part of a long chain of invention, stretching far into the past and reaching forward to the future. Even in a world dominated by survival, the human need to create, to express, and to imagine endures. Art is not merely decoration. It is storytelling, memory, ritual, and identity all rolled into one. In the Paleolithic world, expression is as essential as fire, tools, or food. It connects people across generations, binds the communities, and gives shape to experiences that might otherwise remain invisible. The walls of caves are more than stone, they are canvases. Ochre, charcoals, and clay are mixed with water, animal fat, or plant juices to create pigments. Brushes made of plant fibers, fingers, or animal hair apply the paint, leaving marks that record the band's knowledge and experience. Shapes of animals dominate: bison, deer, mammoths, horses. They are not random. Each stroke is intentional, capturing movement, form, and life in a way that teaches, inspires, and honors. Creating art is meticulous work. A hunter or gatherer studies an animal's form carefully before committing pigment to stones. The curve of a horn, the angle of a leg, the tension in a muscle, every detail matters. Art is both observation and interpretation, blending practical knowledge with imagination. The act of painting teaches attentiveness, precision, and patience, skills that are equally useful in hunting and gathering. Art extends beyond caves. Carved figurines of animals, humans, and fantastical creatures are fashioned from bone, ivory, or stone. These objects are not toys, they carry meanings. Some may represent ancestors or spirits, others fertility, success in hunting, or protection from harm. Small carvings travel with the bands, serving as talismans, teaching tools, or tokens of memory. The act of creation itself is a ritual, a bridge between the tangible and the unseen. Personal adornment is another form of expression. Beads carved from bone, shells strung together, pendants made of stone or teeth, all are worn not just for beauty but to convey status, skill, or affiliation. Hair may be braided, painted, or decorated with pigments. Clothing, though primarily functional, also serves as a canvas for decoration, lines incised in leather, patterns etched into hides, or colored with natural dyes. The body becomes both shield and statement, practical and expressive simultaneously. Stories are a living art. Around the fire, elders recount hunts, migrations, encounters with predators, and moments of triumph or loss. These narratives are rhythmic, full of repetition, and punctuated by gesture, tone, and chant. Children watch, memorize, and mimic, absorbing cultural knowledge and practical lessons at once. The spoken word becomes art, shaping memory, guiding behaviors, and connecting generations in ways that words alone cannot. Music and sound are woven into daily life. Drums made from hollowed woods, rattles of bone and stone, and simple flutes carved from reeds produce rhythm and melody. Singing may accompany hunts, work, or rituals. The sounds help maintain coordination, reinforce memory, and elevate emotion. They are not mere entertainment, they are tools for focus, unity, and spiritual connection. Even playful art exists. Children carve tiny sticks into miniature animals, mimic hunts, and paint small figures in the dirt. They experiment with color and form, exploring possibilities without fear of error. This play is crucial. It teaches motor skills, observation, and creativity, all under the guise of amusements. Art in all forms is simultaneously functional and transcendent, a training ground for mind and body. Art is deeply connected to rituals. Painted caves are sanctuaries where hunters leave offerings or prayers for success. Figurines may accompany births or deaths, marking passages of life. Music and dance are integrated with chants, reinforcing belief and community cohesion. Art and ritual are inseparable, each enhancing the other, blending beauty with meaning. Innovation fuels artistic expression. New pigments are discovered, new techniques tried. Finger painting, blowing pigment through hollow reeds, or pressing leaves and plants into stone creates textures and effects that are experimented with and passed along. Tools of survival double as tools of expression. A well-shaped bone for carving may also sharpen sticks for hunting. Function and beauty are intertwined, both necessary for life. At night, as the band rests near the fire, you trace shapes on a piece of bark, imitating animals seen that day. The charcoal smudges under your fingers, leaving marks that capture not only form but memory, emotions, and intention. Around you, others work quietly, a child stringing beads, an elder etching lines into bones, a hunter painting faint shapes in the flickering light. The cave becomes alive with creativity, every act a testament to thought, skill, and spirit. Art is also a way to confront fear and mortality. Images of animals might serve as prayers for safe hunts, charms against illness, or reminders of ancestors. Even when danger lurks, predators, storms, illness, the act of creating imposes order, shapes understandings, and transforms the chaotic into something meaningful. Art is survival, but also transcendence. It allows humans to see beyond immediate needs, to imagine, to remember, to connect. The night deepens, firelight flickering across painted walls and carved objects. Shadows dance, bringing images to life. You feel the presence of those who came before, whose hands left pigment, whose voices shaped stories, whose creativity shaped the band's world. Art is continuity. It links past to present, child to elder, hunter to gatherer, life to the larger web of experience. In the Paleolithic, art is not separate from life. It is woven into the rhythm of survival, the fabric of community, and the pursuit of meaning. It transforms stone, wood, pigment, and sound into memory, instruction, and beauty. To create is to live fully, to engage deeply with the world, to honor life and all its challenges. In every brushstroke, carved lines, and whispered story, the essence of humanity shines through. Curious, imaginative, resilient, and endlessly expressive. As the sun rises on another day in the Paleolithic world, the rhythm of life continues. Fire is tended, tools are sharpened, children are guided, and the band moves through forests, plains, and rivers. But even in the relentless cycle of survival, humans pause, look back, and consider the meaning of their existence. Reflection and legacy are subtle but ever present, shaping both individual lives and the community that sustains them. Every action has consequences. Every hunt, every gathered root, every repaired tool carries lessons, not only for today but for tomorrow. The knowledge passed down is sacred. Which stones make the sharpest tools? Which plants heal wounds? Which animal behaviors signal danger or opportunities? Each generation absorbs this wisdom, adding to it, refining it, carrying it forward. Legacy is survival encoded in action and memory. Children's observing and participating are at the center of this continuity. They imitate adults, repeat chants, paint simple figures on rock surfaces, and learn the intricate skills of hunting, gathering, and fire making. Each child who masters a technique becomes a link in the chains, ensuring that skills do not vanish with a single person. Watching them, you recognize that your actions are part of something far larger than yourself, a living history in motion. Reflection is often quiet. After a long day of travel or labor, the band gathers around the fire, and you take a moment to consider the path you've walked. Stones, twigs, animal tracks, all bear witness to journeys taken and challenges overcome. The memory of a successful hunt, the discovery of a new berry patch, the repair of a crucial tool. These are milestones quietly monumental in a life measured by survival. Legacy is tangible. The walls of caves bear the mark of generations, painted animals, handprints, ochre dots, carved symbols. Tools are passed down, repaired, reshaped. Clothing is carefully maintained, not discarded, each stitch representing knowledge and care. Even small objects, a bone bead, a carved figurine, a woven bag, are carriers of memory, heritage, and identities. They remind the band that life is more than a sequence of immediate needs. It is a continuum that stretches forward and backward in times. Yet reflection also encompasses the invisible. You feel the presence of those who came before. The elders who taught your parents, the hunters whose hands shaped tools, the gatherers who first discovered edible roots. Their experience surrounds you, woven into every action, every lesson, every rhythm of daily life. Legacy is not only in objects or actions, it is in the shared knowledge, the stories, and the culture that define humanity. The band is conscious of mortality. Life is fragile. Predators, accidents, illness, and scarcity constantly remind everyone that existence is uncertain. But this awareness fuels innovation, cooperation, and care. To live fully, to leave behind more than footprints in the mud, is a quiet but profound goal. Every effort to teach, protect, or guide is an investment in the survival of both individuals and the collective. Stories encapsulate this sense of legacy. Around the fires, elders recount past hunts, migrations, and encounters, linking memory to survival. Lessons are embedded in narratives. Which river bends hide danger, which cliffs provide shelter, which plants heal, and which harm. These tales are more than entertainment. They are repositories of practical knowledge, cultural identity, and ancestral wisdom. Each listener becomes a guardian of memories, a custodian of legacy. Even in leisure, reflection thrives. Music, chant, and artistic creation are acts of continuity. The strokes of a brush, the carving of a figurine, the rhythm of a drum, all connect the present moment to generations past and those yet to come. They are the voice of the community, echoing in stone, wood, and bone, leaving traces of thought, skills, an imagination that endure far longer than a single life. As the day wears on, the band works together with a sense of purpose rooted in legacies. Hunters track, gatherers forage, children assist and learn. Each movement, each carefully performed task, reinforces the knowledge and habits that ensure survival. The rhythm of activity is punctuated by observation and corrections, storytelling and teaching, forming a continuous cycle that knits the past, present, and future into a coherent whole. At night, when the fire burns low and stars glitter across an unpolluted sky, reflection deepens. The band rests, bodies weary, but minds alert. You consider not only what has been achieved today, but what will endure. The skills you honed, the tools you crafted, the plants you identified, the songs you sang, and the stories you told, all will shape tomorrow, influencing those who follow. Legacy is the quiet, invisible thread that connects life, ensuring that experience and knowledge persist, even when individual lives fade. In this reflection, a profound understanding emerges. Survival is important, yes, but it is not the whole story. What defines humanity is the ability to leave something beyond mere existence: knowledge, skill, art, and memory. The Paleolithic people know this instinctively. Every act is simultaneously practical and symbolic, a gesture of care toward those who will inherit the world. As you close your eyes, the firelight casting gentle shadows, you recognize that life in the Paleolithic world is both fleeting and enduring. It is a cycle of birth, struggle, learning, cooperations, and reflection. Each day adds a brushstroke to the larger picture. Each individual contributes to a collective story. In a world without writing, electricity, or modern convenience, humans nonetheless craft a rich legacy, leaving evidence of thought, skills, and creativity for those who follow. And in that quiet understanding, you find peace. The world may be harsh, unpredictable, and sometimes terrifying, but it is also beautiful, meaningful, and shared. Every lesson passed down, every story told, every tool created, and every song sung is part of the chain that binds generations together. Your life, like every other life in the band, is both ephemeral and eternal, a fleeting moment in time, yet a lasting contribution to humanity's long and ongoing story. Legacy is survival, but it is more than survival. It is memory, knowledge, and care. It is expression and creation. It is connection to the land, the animals, and each other. And as the Paleolithic night deepens, with stars overhead and the fire crackling low, you rest with the quiet satisfaction that your life, your skills, and your choices matter, not only today but for the future.